Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Podcana. This is episode 134. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sky of Team Maelstrom, but today we have another special guest, a very special guest, a Disney Lorcana content creator, broadcaster, and a fantastic player in his own right, Joe Speci Curley. Joe, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the intro. Nice to be on Podcana. I've appeared long time ago, but really glad to see the podcast still going on. I guess take the opportunity to say big thanks to Kawa and Moyen for what they did for the community. And yeah, really, really glad to see the podcast is back and in very capable hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the kind words. And we are definitely indebted to Moyen and Kawa for all of their hard work, as well as everybody else that was on the podcast previously. Sky, looks like you're ready for Winterspell, dude.
I am. I'm geared up, dude. I'm ready for these reveals. I'm ready to get in the new set. I think this set is super exciting, like comparatively to other sets. I think there's a lot of fun cards that are going to shake up. Some cards, maybe not. They're going to shake it up right away, but definitely are strong in their own right and will, within time, shake up stuff. So I'm ready. I'm ready to get into this.
Yeah, for sure. I think this set is going to be really, really interesting because I don't think it's like as obviously powerful as all the cards were in Whispers in the Well. I think like all the legendaries, or like a lot of them, everyone was really excited for. And I think there's going to be a lot of cards that sneak up on people in this upcoming set. But before we get into it, I would like to say, as always, we are sponsored by Heavy Play. If you'd like to save 10%, you can use code PODCANA to do that. I'd also very quickly like to shout out the Ink Open, which will be happening February 27th through March 1st. That is an official Disney Lorcana CCQ out here on the East Coast in North America. If you're out on the West Coast, we've got two different ones coming up for you, one in San Diego and one in Roseville, California. The Enchanted Citrus Clash is an Infinity CCQ, which is really interesting. So that'll get you prepped and ready for Indianapolis if you are playing in that DLC. And then the Glimmer Games is a core constructed CCQ. Let's get right into the cards. I put Pudge here for a very special reason. Sky has been talking all about this card. Sky, lead us off. Why is Pudge so good?
Pudge is absolutely cracked. Like this card, like I like to say, even if it's not, played in a deck, would only be because like the meta is just not favorable for that type of archetype. This card does everything that like both aggro or like a mid-range Amber Steel with a lot of strong card draw like wants to do.
Are we talking about the same card?
Yeah, dude, Pudge.
Pudge controls weather?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, for the people that don't know, Pudge, an inkable 2-cost, 1/3. If you have a character named Lilo in play, you can play this character for free.
So, yeah, being able to be played for free is huge, and it's also a 2-cost. So you can sing 2-cost songs. There's not too many amazing 2-cost songs right now, but Be Our Guest is a fantastic one. Like, if you think about, you throw this thing out for free, it's a body for strength, and the next turn it can sing a Be Our Guest and just replace itself with potentially a better character because you have, more options with it. That's fantastic. The main kind of limiting factor is it needs to be a Lilo that's played, and not always do you want to play like a Lilo on turn 2. We have Lilo Escape Artist, which is a great one. That's already played in like mid-range / aggro decks, which is awesome. I think there's also a 1-cost Lilo from this set, maybe.
Yeah, there is. There's a 1-cost Lilo, which is really good because if you have a Stitch on board, it quests for 2, and it's like a 1/2 stat line. And
so honestly,
there's also a really good uninkable 2-drop Lilo in Steel.
Yeah,
the Steel one, which we'll talk about later. But so there is like on-rate Lilos at the very least. It's just, is it better than what you already want to be playing? Not quite, but it's probably comparable. So it's not too much of a tax to play, your turn 1 or turn 2 a Lilo and play this for free. But yeah, so either if you're an aggro, obviously it's great to just throw it out as an extra thing that quests for free. And it's also a body for strength and aggro as well. But if you're more of like a mid-range Amber Steel, which I really hope comes back this set and has enough support to get it there, if you set up a robust enough draw engine, you don't mind just having an extra body to deploy for strength. And it can be kind of a payoff if you take like a little bit of a slower route with like, maybe the 4-cost aerial, maybe stuff like Beyond the Horizon, being able to just like drop an extra body that can potentially sing, stuff like Be Our Guest that you're already playing that mid-range engine to sing and to just deploy more beef to the board. So I love this card. I think this card is awesome. It also gets buffed by the Zeus Bolt, or the new one. What's it called? He hurled his Thunderbolt. Yeah. Okay. So that's a little bit of a buff. 3 attack isn't super big, but it's just a nice thing because you're already going to be playing 4 of them in like an Amber Steel mid-range brew. So the deity text just adds a little bit of extra flavor and value, which is nice. I think this card is going to be fantastic, and it might not be like all over the meta right away, but I think would solely just be because those style of decks don't really fit in the meta. They kind of get overtaken by stuff like green blue still and stuff that just is much bigger.
Yeah, I
gotta say, sorry to interrupt, Garrick.
No, you're good.
When I was skimming through the cards previously, I thought you had to pay 1 ink for this, so that's why I was so surprised. But there's a big difference between having to pay 1 ink, right, and getting it for free. For free is quite cheap.
Yeah,
I can certainly see like why you're excited about this card, like extra body for strength, extra stinger. I mean, the stat line's obviously not too impressive, but again, something I'm probably going to say quite a bit in the episode today. Imagine a Floodborn down the line as well. That's when like things start getting really spicy, right?
Some giant fish version of Pudge that's just some crazy celestial being would be pretty sick.
A super deity.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire, Sky. I'm gonna make a promise, and you have to deliver it next week to the people that listen to Podcana. We're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna see a Pudge deck from Sky built next week, and we're gonna talk about it. So be on the lookout for
I would
that.
be happy to do that. I was going to build Amber Steel midrange, the first deck this set anyways, and we're going to see if it's good. But just one more thing on this. Like, I think part of the reason why I have a pretty good idea of what is strong with this card is because I played so much like Amber Steel midrange and Amber Steel aggro with Aurora, and like seeing what Aurora can do with just throwing out 1 extra character early, like you can play 4 1-drops on turn 2 is like crazy strong in any sort of aggressive strategy. So seeing that you can essentially do a similar effect, but it's like a singer that can sing for 2 is like super strong. So I have a lot of faith in this card. I think it'll be solid.
This card, you've convinced me. I've gone from thinking this card was terrible, admittedly, because I misread it, to thinking this card is unbelievable.
That's what I do all the time.
Yeah, Sky did that 5 times last episode.
You can open up, right, turn 1 Lilo, like this new Lilo card, which already caught my eyes, like 1/2 stat line. It can quest for 2 if you've got a Stitch. You can play that Lilo and Pudge on your first turn. I mean, that can't be bad, can it? 2 characters on turn 1. That's pretty nuts.
And there's the new Shift Lilo also, so you probably want to be running the 1 cost. Like,
That's exciting.
Yeah, and I included this card on this slide as well because it is just a card that incentivizes you to get a really wide board, and that is the Wisdom of the Willow. It is an action, not a song, 4 cost, uninkable. For the rest of this turn, whenever one of your character's quests, you may draw a card. So I immediately thought this card has to be really good, or at least a solid option in any kind of dogs deck. If you play Tramp Down, you have a wide board, you search your deck basically for this card exactly, quest for 6 characters, draw 6 cards, and now you can't lose the game. Thoughts on Wisdom of the Willow here, Joe?
I mean, it's a bit clunky, but I think any card which you could build your deck around to sort of get some card draw, especially as like a one-off, right, could be interesting. I think that the Rockstar Stitch interests me a little bit more, maybe as a potential card draw move, but I'm always excited to see like actions like this if you could do some sort of Robin Hood sharpshooter thing. And I do think the Amber Ruby Robin Hood sharpshooter is definitely a deck I'm going to be brewing. I think that there could be something there, and if you can have some sort of action heavy deck where you have more synergy with actions, a card like this definitely becomes a lot better. Probably just like plonking it into like your average deck, I would imagine there might be better options, but it's the kind of card that could fit in a deck that's not playing Amethyst, right? You'd never play it in Amethyst, I think we can all agree. But if you're lacking card draw, maybe it could be enough to push a different color pairing in that right direction.
Sky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I said this on the last episode, but cards like this typically don't ever see the light of day. But I will say this is the best type of clunky like board payoff card. We see a lot of cards like these where it's like, okay, you get paid off for going wide, but you take your whole turn to cast this card and you know, take the benefit of going wide. When typically, if you're that wide that it's going to be an efficient like card to play, you're going to be in a good spot. You don't really need something like this. But this one is definitely like reasonable. Like if you think about you're playing this on turn 4 on curve to refill. Okay, what does my board look like if I'm, you know, specifically playing around this card? Maybe I get up to 5 characters, I would say is reasonable for either, you know, a dogs deck or an Amber Steel aggro deck, and then you play this. potentially draw 5. The thing you have to think about is, what am I giving up by turning these cards sideways? Because you have to quest to draw cards. So you do get the lore, but you maybe just expose your board to 3 very efficient trades, and those 3 trades are maybe almost worth a card in itself. So like, how much real value are you getting? Your deck kind of has to be built in a weird way to, I guess, extrapolate value from those cards in your hand. Like, then you have to redeploy, maybe you have to play another. Maybe you have such a strong draw engine that you can keep just going wide and just doing this thing over and over again. You don't really care what the trades look like. But I don't think this card will see play. I think it definitely could have been inkable, and it would have helped out a lot, as like including as like a 2 of, or like Joe said, a 1 of. But it is like cool. It definitely synergizes with like Pudge, goes super wide early and turns stuff sideways. But I mean, we also have stuff like Daisy and Pudge, which are pretty big like toughness for what the cost you're playing. So maybe more stuff survives, but you really can't do it with your whole board being like super big and tough. So
bro,
I don't think
it'll toughness. This game's been out for like 2.5 years. You call it toughness,
dude. I don't even know what it's actually called, to be honest.
Not toughness.
Willpower, dude.
Willpower. Okay, willpower. Yeah. Okay. They got high willpower. But other than Daisy and Pudge, I don't know what else you're playing on your curve. You got stuff like Lady with 2 willpower. Lilo's got 2 willpower, so like it's gonna be tough to have a whole board that disincentivizes like efficient trades.
Yeah, that willpower rolls right off the tongue. I got to say, and I've got to say, the art for both of these cards is incredible, as is the art for the rest of the set. Let's take a look at 2 cards that I think everyone's been talking about. I don't know how many people are really on the Pudge train, but I think everybody's on the Ohana Means Family and Raging Storm train. But these are 2 actions, neither are songs, both do something that we had in Core Constructed in the first 4 sets in pre-rotation that everybody utilized heavily and everybody loved, that being Rapunzel, Gifted with Healing, and Be Prepared. Ohana Means Family is a 3-cost inkable action. Remove all damage from chosen character of yours. Draw a card for each 1 damage remove this way. Is this card off of a body, costs 1 less, has the potential to draw more than 3, worth including in Amber decks? Do you think this card finds a home in Core Constructed and/or Infinity? Joe?
Well, I feel like Sky's going to have a better answer, because I think it's fair to say Sky's more up to date with the game in its current state. I had a bit of a set off. I've still been keeping a very close eye on it. I think. Again, sort of similar to the last one, I've got to say I love the design of it. I think it's really nice seeing, especially inkable action cards, which have the potential to draw cards. I really love sort of seeing actions which aren't songs being, trying to be pushed. But obviously, by not being a song, you lose a lot of flexibility. This card could maybe be uninkable in a song, and you would probably like the look of it a bit more, perhaps, because you could gain tempo. Like, It's sort of the same problem with the last card, like spending 4 ink or 3 ink to draw cards. While obviously it's good, you're losing a lot of tempo on the board to do that. And usually when you're playing Amber, you're looking to get as much tempo on board as possible. So I would imagine that you're not going to see this in your traditional Amber decks. Maybe you could play it in like Dogs, for example. I'm not sure, because that deck does have a lot of like chunky willpower characters. But again, if there's like some sort of like action synergy that you could get with this, and you could make this cheaper, for example, that's when I think this card really starts to come alive. But I really love it. It's a really exciting card, and it's definitely very powerful if you build your entire deck around it. And that's the kind of legendary cards I like to see, that you're rewarded for interesting deck building. But I have a feeling it's probably a little bit lacking, but I could very much be proven wrong.
Yeah, I think it's going to make a lot of people miss Rapunzel, because Rapunzel obviously costs 1 more, but you get a really nice body. You get to quest for 2 with her. She can also sing your really integral songs. This is just a one and done, burn it and it's gone.
Rapunzel also, like, they sort of, the more Rapunzels you had, the better the first one became, right? Because you play a Rapunzel and you've got a 5 willpower character that you could get more card draw from down the line as well. Whereas, like, yeah, once you play this, it's not like you've got another character that you can use to target with the next one. So it's a bit of an awkward one. What do you reckon, Sky?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. It's very similar to the card we just talked about, the Willow card. Rapunzel, the thing about Rapunzel was, like, if you look at its stat line, it's a 4 cost, 1/4 quest for 2, or 1/5 quest for 2. If you're playing a deck that curves out, it can sing stuff for you. It can sing, back in the day with Zeus or Strength, which is, that's 8 songs. You're always going to have something to sing pretty much. Or you just turn it sideways and it quests if you're in a really aggressive deck. And either option is great. This card does neither of that for 1 less cost. I think this card is actually like pretty terrible. I would be shocked if this saw any light of day. You mentioned stuff like Tramp having 6 toughness, or 6 willpower. It can potentially swing to something that hits for 4 or 5 and have a big draw. But if the card is played, like, people are going to know about that and will never turn stuff sideways. You don't have any interaction within dogs to like enable this. The last time I played Rapunzel was in Amber Steel midrange, I think in set 7, or no, like set 8 or
set
9.
8.
One of those, either 8 or 9. And my favorite plays were using a 2 cost Singer 4 to sing either Strength or Storm on my own guy and play Rapunzel and draw 2 cards. Strength if you have 3 characters, and because it doesn't net a card itself. So either way, you're netting 2 cards. This you can't do that with. Like, taking up a spot in itself and not giving the body is just not efficient enough to enable stuff like that. I think this card is just actually really terrible.
Do you like the look of Ohana Means Family or the Willow card more? If you had to choose, if you were forced to choose.
That's an interesting question. I was actually thinking about this like while you were talking.
Yeah.
I actually think I like the Wisdom of the Willow card better, and that should show like how clunky this type
I would
of
disagree.
You disagree with that, really?
Yeah.
Well,
okay. Maybe in just a generic deck, but I feel like Ohana Means Family maybe has a bit more potential. I think, just by nature of the fact it's inkable, to be honest. I think that makes such a huge difference.
That's fair.
Because they're janky cards.
I also think like you have to heavily play around Wisdom of the Willow if it's in your deck. Like, it's probably got to be like a 4 of, and you're just going straight wide, and like if you want one of these and you're good. But I don't really see anywhere where Ohana Means Family would be like a good option. Like, if you're just playing any normal strong deck, like, and you can't really play around it too. I like maybe Amber Ruby, and you just have like those damage characters. But if you think, most of them are like deal 2 damage to themselves. So like, if you're playing this card, you're losing 1 card and you're losing a turn of 3 ink just to draw 1 card. Like, that does not seem too great. So I don't know. I've heard this card got a lot of hype, and I was actually surprised that how many people thought this card was really good. Like, we're back with Rapunzel, and it really just doesn't do anything that Rapunzel did. Singing is Amber Steel's like strongest thing. So like, Rapunzel being able to sing for 4 is crazy.
Again, I do love these action cards. So like, we've never really seen like a true action deck. It's always been songs that have dominated, and for good reason. So I'm always quite excited to see some powerful action cards. And there's quite a lot of synergy. Like, Green has quite a few cards which synergize with actions, which aren't songs. I don't think there's anything there yet, but it's something to keep an eye on. And like Ruby has some action synergy cards with like Maui Half Shark and stuff like this. So, with a Maui Half Shark, this kind of card as an option to be pulling from your discard could definitely make a big difference in the late game. And when you've got cards like Raging Storm, having some sort of interesting card draw could definitely be clutch. I think in like a slower Amber deck, which, with the Raging Storm card, maybe those could become a thing. This could be doing something, I have a feeling, but we'll have to see. I think Amber Ruby's the best chance for it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how actions come out and how we feel about them, because songs are so powerful. And I'm trying to think, like, pre-rotation, what actions were being played regularly. And like, all that really comes to mind are like Hypnotize. Hypnotize and Brawl. And that's it. And they were exceptional for what they did in the decks that they were included in. Feels like actions have to just be so much better than songs to be playable, because of the tempo loss that you incur by playing them from your hand. But speaking of powerful actions, here we have Raging Storm, the 8 cost uninkable banish all characters. Another card that was getting a lot of hype on social media, people talking about it like, we're so back, it's Be Prepared. Amber, the new control deck. Here we go. We finally have it. But it costs 1 more. It's not singable. And it's not in a color that traditionally is able to control that well. That was typically Ruby's identity, but I guess now it's just Amber's, right? We have the We have the Horseman Strikes. We have World's Greatest Criminal Mind, and now Raging Storm. 3 cards that can banish cards throughout the game. But this is a big deal. Whether or not it sees a ton of play will be interesting. I don't know if you two saw what DKP had to say about it, but he laid out a great argument for this card not being so good. But Joe, do you like this card? Do you think that it makes high-end control Amber a real thing in this game? That like Emerald Sapphire became that in this past set. Do you think that Amber Sapphire or something similar could do that in this set with this card?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this card can't be bad. Like, it's a board clear. It's much worse than Be Prepared, but it's still a board clear. But I mean, even if it proves not to be like top of the meta or anything like this, it's, I said it on a video of mine, it's my favorite card they've released in a very, very long time, because it's actually pushing Amber in like a different direction. And I think it's important to also recognize that Ruby got some really cool cards this set. If like Ruby got nothing, I don't think I would be as impressed by this one, but I'm actually really excited that like Amber Sapphire is suddenly like a real option. And now every time you build an Amber deck, you're not just having to think, oh, I built this deck very, very fast. You've suddenly got like a couple of real directions to go. I think maybe Be Prepared became too much of Ruby's identity because it synergized so well with everything else. Whereas like this card, you really have to go about building your deck in a different way, and you're probably going to have to rely on the other ink color quite a bit, right? So you would imagine Sapphire, but even if it proves not to be like top meta, there's no way it's ever going to be bad. It's like still a board clear, and I'm really, really excited for this one. I think it just opens up a lot of fun to be had, and I think the game's been struggling a little bit to have multiple different sort of identities per ink color, if you will, or like multiple different decks per color combination, and this is the kind of card which, you know, suddenly obviously you've got your traditional Amber Steel, but maybe you could now also look at building like an Amber Steel control deck. It's probably not going to be as good, but at least there's reason to try it, right? Because there's a big card that pays off that idea.
Yeah, I agree with that take a lot. I think a lot of people that are kind of saying, oh, where does this fit in the meta right now? Like, I don't understand. You're wiping your own board. Like, what are you setting up for? They're being a little bit closed-minded as to like the potential of this card. One, if you think about, you know, red purple, why was it Be Prepared strong in that? Red purple was a little bit slower deck, played like value cards like Rabbit and sometimes Queen's Castle that could get value even through this Be Prepared, and always had like a solid follow-up with like stuff like Tremaine or Medusa to remove like things after Be Prepared. And they always played it on turn 7. And I've heard people say, well, like how do you get to this card? It's cost 8, it's 1 more, like it's too slow. But you want to, like, you're going to be playing an Amber Sapphire, like you're going to be ramping. So like right now we have the strongest ramp there's ever been in the game. We have no problem with playing a 2-cost ramp into like a Cinderella ideally, or just, you know, another 2-cost ramp. So we're going to be playing this like actually earlier than red purple would be by at least a turn typically. So as long as the meta is not just pure go under everything, the game's just over before you even get a chance to play this, I think this card, for sure, that is not a problem at all. I think the colors that are going to be wanting to play this can play this in a timely fashion when you would need to play a board wipe in a standard meta. Now the question is, okay, well, we have ramp, we can get there. Like, how do we benefit more than an opponent? Like, obviously a board wipe is like pretty strong. If you're a control deck, the reason why board wipe is strong is because after the board wipe, you're typically at more ink, and you can just deploy stronger things that maybe, you know, either remove your opponent's response from the board wipe or just stronger in general. Do we have those tools is like the question. If you look at stuff like blue-green, the board wipe is nice because it puts a giant body on the field, which can speed up your clock and just threaten to swing into anything. It has a high tough willpower, so you can survive. You also have stuff like John Silver. Sometimes people play Hades. You have like bounce cards with Clarabelle, which are good follow-ups. So it's just, does Amber Sapphire have the tools to like play a value game after this? I don't know. I don't think so right now. Like, I think Amber's the strongest stuff Amber has in this like format is like Mowgli plus Timon as far as control options, which are discard cards, which is fine. Maybe it's fine to just ramp a little bit, discard some cards, and then play this board wipe, and they have like no cards left. But typically you need like some big like character to deploy after a board wipe like this, and I don't know if we have it, because obviously like one of the best Amber cards right now I think that's gonna like show back up in the format is like Surfer Stitch. That's like a high cost, and you can't really play that after a board wipe because it's 7. You wiped your own board. You got to like somehow deploy 2 characters, and if you're control deck, that's just not happening. So I don't know. I think maybe right now it doesn't have a place, but for sure, this like indicates that they're going to build around like this card a lot more. They want like a board wipe in the format.
You got to think like a Hades could help though after you play this, right? To just equalize the board.
Yeah, I mean Hades. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about Hades. Hades is like the biggest one in those colors for sure. To
Maleficent as well in Ruby. I mean, you've got to imagine Amber Ruby is going to be too slow, but even if it's not the most competitive, it's still going to be an extremely fun deck that people get to experiment with, which wasn't a possibility before this. And I think it's just such a big win. Like this card alone is just immediately going to encourage a bunch of people to get back into the game and get to the kitchen table to build a deck around it. And I think that's the kind of card that's like so good to have in a set. I like that it's not a legendary as well, so we can actually like people can get it easily, because I think it's just going to be a really fun one for a lot of people, even if it's not that competitive. But it's going to be good. It can't be bad, can it? It's a board wipe. It can't be bad.
It's crazy how much people miss board wipes. Like I hear a lot of discussion about like why the game is kind of declining in hype a little bit, and like so many of it is just we don't have the old cards like B Prep and Sisu. They just want a board wipe. They're like I can't play my board wipes. I am quitting the game, which is insane. So maybe this brings back those people.
Yeah, the board wipes we had as a follow-up to those cards being gone just never felt as good, right? Until Prince Philip combo came together, and that's like a 2-card combo, most of the time a 3-card combo. Like Under the Sea, it's not really a board wipe. You kind of have to combo with that as well. Like, what is it? Spooky Sight is kind of just helps your opponent a lot. Like, there were so many matches.
Spooky Sight is really great and efficient if it's in a meta where it's great and efficient. There's just no like Dogs is the only aggro deck pretty much, and it's only like 8-9% of the field. So like Spooky Sight's an insanely powerful card that will typically just win the game if you play it versus these types of decks. It's not played at all. And blue green is also an interesting one to mention because like this card might hinge on how do you beat blue green. Like what's if the ultimate control deck is still blue green, what type of Amber Sapphire deck are you playing that beats that? And like it's probably a one that plays heavy into like the discard with like Timon and Mowgli. I don't know if it's still strong enough to do it, but like I think that's the fight that this card is going to have as well, at least early on.
Yeah, and in non-Sapphire decks, like Joe mentioned, there are avenues to get this card out. There are pseudo ramp cards. Most of the time, they reduce the cost of characters in Amber, but that could just be good enough if the rest of the control tools along the way can get you there. Because there are a lot of really efficient ways to remove cards. Now in Ruby, we have Grab Your Bow. We can talk about that, or Headless Horseman plus Horseman Strikes and other things that we talked about. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Raging Storm lands when it's all said and done here in the next few sets. Our next 2 cards are Amethyst cards. I think Amethyst, I don't know, maybe this is just a gut reaction, but it feels like Amethyst had overall a weaker set of cards in this set, maybe to compensate for what happened in the past few sets. But here we're taking a look at Mystical Inkcaster. This is a 3-cost uninkable item. The ability special summons. You exert this item, pay 3, play a character with cost 5 or less for free. They gain rush at the end of your turn. Banish them. So you get a little bit of a discount on a character. You get to save 2 ink. Obviously, this costs 6 total to do for the first time, but will eventually, I guess, net you some ink down the road. But the character is banished after they challenge. I think this is an interesting item. It has really good reusability, but it being uninkable, it's a little clunky. It costs a lot to use, and you lose the character after it's over. I guess if you're rushing into something and it's going to get banished anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I think there could be a world where this card sees a little bit of play. Joe, what do you think about the Mystical Inkcaster item?
There's like an action from one of the earlier sets, which it reminds me of. Was it called like what's that called? Gruesome, Mean, and Scary, or something like this. I don't remember what it was called. It was like some Amethyst action which had a similar effect, and there were some fun things you could do with that card, with like the legendary 2-cost Mickey Mouse, for example. But yeah, I struggle to see this one. Like, I'm a big fan of Inkcasters, like the other two Inkcaster cards, the Enigmatic Inkcaster and the Hidden Inkcaster and Emerald.
Yeah, those are like
two of
your
my
cards.
favorite
Yeah.
cards of all time. This one, I'm not keen on at all.
You gotta make
it's
it
way
work.
too slow, but it's definitely an interesting effect. There's no doubt about that. I think this is like one of those cards which just playing it in a vacuum, it's pretty bad. But again, if you can find some way of like with Oswald, let's say for example, like some sort of deck where you've got heavy item payoff, and you could get this out cheaper, then I could definitely see a world it could do something.
What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I think sadly this card is a little bit too clunky, which is often the fate of a lot of these item cards like this.
Yeah.
One, it's uninkable. It's 3 cost. You can compare it to like a Chromacon. 2, it's even worse in multiples as a Chromacon because like sometimes double Chromacon does stuff, but this really doesn't do much at all. It's going to be pretty rare. You're going to have like be able to trigger 2 of them and have 2 cards that are valid targets. And the biggest problem is we just don't have stuff that's like valuable to go and hit and then die. If you look at a game like Hearthstone, like there's a lot of like death rattles. The trigger that's when something is banished, then you get a special effect. And like Hearthstone had a lot of great cards with that death rattle text because of like just the way the game was set up was like, oh, this is a cool mechanic. We can do random stuff. We can draw cards. We can do all sorts of fun effects. This game just does not have any of that same spirit. Like it seems like the best thing I can think of is like the type of stuff where when it's banished, it goes into your inkwell, which is not super great.
Yeah.
And they're typically pretty bad stats. Like if you think of the 2-cost Gramatala, or there's like a Tadashi that's a 2/2, you don't really want to be giving these things rush and going in and hitting things because they're probably not going to be taking out too much. So I think this card, like if the game was set up in a different way and there's a lot of cool banish effects, maybe this card is good. But yeah, right now, definitely being underrated, and there's none of that. So I don't think it'll see play probably ever.
We had a pretty interesting one, the Wreck-It Ralph. Obviously, whenever it's banished, it banishes everything with strength below it. Unfortunately, it costs 7, and this only enables characters at cost 5 or less, which is unfortunate. I mean, I feel like in a pre-rotation world, there were a ton of different Amethyst cards, and they were all Merlin cards, obviously, that could take advantage of this, going in with a goat, gaining 2 lore in a single turn, right? Or drawing 2 cards with a Merlin rabbit. But yeah, I think I agree with you guys. Let's take a look.
I will say
Sorry,
though, like just before, like to its credit, like if you're at 6 ink, you can play this down, activate it immediately, and you play a 5-cost with Rush, which like maybe it's going to kill it, like banish itself rather. Almost slipped up there. And it's going to banish itself, but that doesn't. You know, a lot of the time when you're rushing in, you don't mind. You just take a trade anyway, right? So. If you look at it in that sense, if you've got an abundance of card draw, you pay 6 ink and you can activate it immediately. Maybe then it's not terrible. It is an interesting card. It is just one of those that suffers from being uninkable, probably.
Yeah.
If it was inkable, you would probably be able to, give it a chance. But as an uninkable, I have to imagine it's never going to make the cut.
Yeah, I'm just.
What about
Go ahead.
Purple Amber Mufasa with this card?
Okay. Now we're talking.
6 ink, play this, activate, play Mufasa, have it get rushed, and then trigger it.
And the
honestly, like, I mean, that's for sure. Like, has to be the best thing you can do with this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about cards that like come in and do something, and every time I think of like, all right, what's a cool ETB that I can use with this and get like crazy value off of it, like Tinkerbell, Giant Fairy, but she costs 6, so like I imagine a world where you play her down, she deals 1 to everything, rushes in, challenges, deal 2 to something else. Like that could be pretty good, but unfortunately she costs one too much.
There's also that Emerald Mickey that's 6. That's when it enters and leaves.
Oh yeah, true.
Right? So that would actually,
like
if you
this
could
close,
play
dude.
that,
everything costs 6. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if this was 6, like that's an interesting question. What does the cost have to be for this to be good? Like honestly, the Emerald Mickey is kind of crazy, right? It comes in, it's like a big body. You take a trade, and then it comes out. They discard 2. Like that's like actually really good value. Imagine like stringing 2 of those together. You like take out 2 things to slow their tempo, and you discarded 4 cards in 2 turns. That's actually like pretty good. So I think maybe like I wish this card would say 6 because I think it's clunky enough to where that's still not broken, but it'd be like a fun payoff for this card.
Yeah.
I have a theory. It's good just because it's an Inkcaster. I feel like the devs like the Inkcasters, so maybe there's something down the line. Or
You
something
used to
we're not
love
seeing.
the first Inkcaster, right? You would
Yeah,
always
it
like
aged
play
well
decks
though,
with
right?
like 32 on Inkables or something. Like, it's fine. I got the Inkcaster.
It aged well though. It was at Worlds in the comments
Yeah.
in the
Blue green
like,
items.
yeah. What
Yeah.
was what's the format called? Like 5 deck. What was it called?
Three deck format.
Yeah. What was the
Or
format?
no, actually no. It's the.
Can't remember what it's called.
Ink.
But yeah, where you had to play like
something. I forget.
yeah, where you had to play like every color pairing,
Conquest.
3 decks. Yeah.
All right.
Bell's got to be the
got
best
another
card to
one.
play with this, right? Play it down, move 3 damage, and rush in and challenge like in Magical Christmas Land. That's a 5-cost card that could work with it. But let's take a look at the Anna, Soothing Sister. 5-cost, inkable, 5/5. This is one of our legendaries. If a card left a player's discard this turn, this card gains Shift 0. And whenever this character quests, you may gain lore equal to the lore of a character card in your discard. If you do, put that card on the bottom of your deck. So in the past 2 sets, and even in Fabled, we've been seeing a lot of cards that interact with the discard pile a lot more, either bringing them back or, in this case, gaining lore of something that has already been banished. I like the idea of Shift 0. This is definitely a build around card, but I think it has a ton of potential if more of those effects come into the game and playing out of your discard or putting things into your discard becomes really worth it at some point.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I don't really know how to gauge a card like this. I need to like look at all the enablers, I guess, of like stuff that pulls stuff out of the discard. Like the only one I can think of that wants to be aggressive, like this card probably wants to be, is like Lilo. So, but I don't know how Amethyst discards cards. Like, because like if you think about, I guess what is the shift target? Do we know what the shift target cost? Is it 2 or 1 for this?
There's quite a few Annas, but I guess like the best one that comes to mind is the 2-drop in Sapphire. I don't think that's where you
The
want to
2,
play it.
okay. I
But
mean, you could play.
there's definitely a few different Annas out there.
So like, let's imagine a world where you play a 1-cost like Mulan or something. These colors that discards a card. Turn 2, you play the 2-cost Anna. Turn 3, you bring back the Lilo that you discard on turn 1, and then you shift this for free. And then you're still not even doing too much. So like, because you need another card in the discard that has a high lore total, like at least like 2 or 3 to be worth. I don't know. This card is weird. I feel like it's like playing a 5-cost to shift on for is like pretty solid, especially if there's like good songs that you could sing with it, I suppose. But I don't really see the efficient ways to do that right now, I guess.
I mean, like what's important to recognize with this card, right, is if you just play it as a 5-cost, you would only need to hit like a 1-lore character from your discard, and it's a Honey Wizard, which I'm not saying Honey Wizard's good, but it doesn't take much for it to be like close to the vanilla stat line, right?
Sure.
Shift 0 is very, very fascinating. Obviously, anything costing 0 is very strong. Shift 0 is a little bit different because you're still paying something, right? You're losing that character on the board to get this one. I think this card, a lot of its potential is probably needing to have a good song to sing, right? Like Shift has been historically very powerful with songs.
Yeah.
Whole New World comes to mind. So if there's like some sort of like really powerful 5-cost song that you want to get access to, I think this card becomes a lot better.
Yeah, the Horned King in the last set in Amethyst, if we're talking about discard interaction, was a card that enabled that a lot. You could return characters from your discard to your hand if another character was banished in the same turn, for example. I think there are several cards that can do that in Amethyst. So it's not impossible. It'd be really weird to play like an Anna deck with like the Horned King. That's like your main combo, but
I did actually like the Horn King card. Like, it was actually kind of a strong engine once it got set up. It was just a little bit too like put the puzzle pieces together. So maybe there is like a Horn King deck that's slowly brewing here. I need to read this card though.
I played against one in the ICL during the Infinity Week, and they were doing like brooms plus Horned King. That was like the engine, and he got it like online in the second game, but I was playing Amber Steel aggro, and it didn't matter. But there are avenues to do it, more so in Infinity, obviously. But yeah, I think Anna could be cool.
Wait, so are you talking about the 4-cost Horn King or the 2-cost?
The 4-cost.
So it's whenever a character is banished in a challenge, you can put it back into your hand and then choose and discard a card. So, but does it ever go to the discard?
That is an interesting question.
Because this card is like, if that card, that challenge does go to the discard first technically, and then it counts as this trigger, then this card is like perfect for the Horn King, right? Because not only do you trigger the Ana to be a free shift, but you discard another card, right? So you can discard like something that quests for a high amount. You can like set it up for next turn. That's actually interesting, but I feel like it would not. I feel like it's going straight to your hands, unfortunately.
I don't know. I feel like it has to go somewhere. Otherwise, it's just hovering in the abyss, right? I feel like if it's banished, it's in the discard, and then the effect kicks in. Right, the banish goes through. Right, like the challenge goes through. It gets banished. It's in the discard, and then you trigger the effect. I think.
I'm trying to think of any other time we've had like similar effects. Work
in that way. Otherwise, it's just like floating in the abyss, right? Like it's not anywhere, so it has to be somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. This card is like kind of seems like it should be designed around the Horn King also because it's Amethyst, and I feel like it definitely works like that.
Yep. All right, that is Ana, Soothing Sister. Next up, it's my favorite card of the set, Mulan, Resourceful Recruit. And I could talk about this card all day. Sky and I have talked about it a little bit, but Joe, I want to get your opinion as the man who built the most aggressive deck in the last set. Mulan, Resourceful Recruit. It feels like there's so many different possibilities with this card. The most obvious one is Tramp, but let me read it real quickly for our listeners that aren't watching on YouTube. It is a 2-cost inkable 1/4. Whenever this character quests, gain lore equal to her strength to a maximum of 6. So she quests for 1 because she has 1 strength. If you're able to add 5 additional strength, she will quest for 6 in a single turn. There are cool things that you can do, like You Came Back, quest for 12 if you're able to buffer up. Force of Great Typhoon is a card that was introduced in the set, a singable song that gives 5 strength that works perfectly with her. But most obviously, Tramp comes to mind. Get wide, play Tramp, quest for a lot, and, win the game really quickly. Do you like this card as an aggro option? I think it's kind of insane, but I could be coping a little bit.
You're not coping.
All right, let's go.
6 lore is quite a lot of lore for a 2-drop. The thing is it's already questing for 1 just by default, right, with no synergy.
Yeah.
It's a 1/4 that quests for 1 because it gains lore equal to her strength, and it's a 1/4. So it's already questing for 1. It doesn't take much to get it higher. I think it's a really cool card. I love these kinds of cards which are rewarding synergies and promoting synergies between cards rather than like a card just quest for 3 and it's just generically good, right? Like I like seeing cards which have synergies. It's a princess, which I think could be relevant in some decks. It's a brilliant shift option as well for the Ruby Floodborn Mulan, which is a card which always excites me. Ruby's got quite a few ways, including a new action card to give a significant amount of strength. I think that one might give +5. It's like a 2-cost action.
It's a song.
It might even be a song. Yeah. And I think it gives +5 strength.
Yep.
So that's obviously a really good option as well. It's such a cool card. I mean, it's extremely good. I think they might have gone a little bit over the top with this one. I think I would be extremely excited about this card, even if it quested for a maximum of 5. But yeah, obviously I love my aggro decks, and this is definitely a very exciting card. Green was already, or Emerald I should say, was already the best ink color in terms of 1-drops which can quest aggressively with like Merfolk, Pegasus, Fred. Maybe Amber could have something to say about it in the new format. But the 2-drop aggressive options for Emerald were a little bit lacking, and this just feels like a real big void for Emerald aggressive deck. So it's a brilliant card in every single way, and it's definitely going to be one of the most impactful cards of the format, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying I think it's the best card in the set. Bonsai, goodbye, brother, because Mulan is taking your spot. Sky, I know you agree, dude. This card's insane, right?
Yeah, I won't say much. I hate this card, but it is very good. Like, I mean, the Dogs deck is just it's gain 6 lore. The one saving grace you have, I've seen a lot of people compare it to Go-Go. Typically, people say, "Oh, you can play around Go-Go," which you kind of can, but at the end of the day, there typically reaches a board state where you have to swing into your opponent and like give them a Go-Go for 2 or 3. There's just nothing you can do about it to still put yourself on a path to win. This card is a little bit more interactable because it has to sit on the board for a turn. You can just prioritize this as the removal, and typically you will. The sad thing is, like, the dog deck still has stuff like 0/3 Lady, which can be then alternatively triggered for 3 lore, which is a lot, or just other stuff that quests for 2. So having to spend a single target removal on this is not ideal, but you can stop it. But I think it's a 2 cost. Like, you can play this with Lady, the 3 cost.
Yeah.
At any point you can just pop off with the Tramp and just easily get a quick 6. So I think it's really solid. I'm scared of this card. I think
I'm surprised it's inkable. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a weird card to look at, how that one got through, to be honest. But hey, clearly, like, they want to give like Emerald like a very, very powerful card, because they could easily have made this quite a bit worse, and I think it would still be an extremely serviceable card. So they clearly have something in mind with this card in terms of like how it's going to push the meta. I think it's unbelievable. Is it the best card of the set? It's got to be, right? I can't imagine there's anything better than this.
I think so. I mean, it's either this or Moana.
I think Moana is really good.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this deck that plays the Mulan probably beats, at least in core,
yeah,
the decks that are going to play Moana. So it'll be interesting to see. But you bring up a good point about this being inkable. So I would have loved to see a card like this be uninkable, because I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, you want one Mulan on your board, right? It's going to be rare that you could like trigger this multiple times to be like, if you have a 1 Tramp plus like 1 Webby, you're not like, it's going to be the same thing with 1 or 2 Mulans, right? You're probably going to have a 0/3 Lady that you can buff with the Webby, and then the Tramp goes to the Mulan. Like, having 2 Mulans is not great. You're probably not going to trigger them both. You're just high rolling if you are. So like, making it uninkable and making the second one be drastically worse would be a way to kind of balance those effects. But yeah, I don't know. I guess they just wanted more inkables for the dogs deck. So
yeah, I'd be interested to know if there was no maximum like during testing, and they were like, this card is insane, we have to put a cap on this.
We gotta stop it, dude. I don't know how much more than 6 you're gonna be going on average, like maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah,
the game's gonna
be
over if it's any higher than that. So that text really probably doesn't matter much.
Yeah,
6 is so much.
That's fair. A card that I really don't know how to evaluate, which is why I wanted to talk to both of you about it, is this Chernabog Unnatural Force. It is a 5-cost character. It's uninkable. It's a 5/4. It's also a super rare like the Mulan. Its ability, Dark Dance. When you play this character, you may shuffle chosen opposing character into their player's deck. If you do, that player may play a character from their discard for free. So obviously the first part of that ability, shuffling something into their deck, is really good. The second part could be a pretty bad downside if there's just like something equal to or better in their discard. I think it's really contextual, but I don't know if this card will be like really good, unplayable, like almost there. I don't know. I love the art. Shout out Kendall Hale, one of the best we have in Digital Arcana, but as a playable card, a super rare, 5-cost uninkable, I don't know what to make of this.
I think this card is crazy. I have not seen this card until now, and I'm super happy to. This might be like my favorite card of the set, actually.
Interesting.
Like, I think this card is like absolutely cracked. The problem with this card is like, where does it fit in like an archetype?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it like, it's probably best in some sort of pseudo aggro, like tempo-y green plus something deck, like maybe green steel, that like isn't full on aggro but still has some board control elements. And like, typically the problem with mid-range is it can fall to just control. Like, you're not fast enough to go under control, so like you just lose those matchups, and you probably beat up on aggro, but that's about it. But this card is like, so in a like a vacuum chamber, this card is crazy. Like, I think it's perfectly reasonable to say I'm playing 4 of these, and I'm playing a tempo-y curve, and say on the green steel, I just play a character each turn, and then on turn 5, I play this, take out their biggest character. They have nothing in the discard because there's very few discard outlets if you're not taking trades. And then like you sing a song and take out something else with strength. Like, I think that's like so strong. You're just taking out 2 of their biggest things. You probably have a big board. It's a 5/4 that quests for 2. That's like really good stats for something. If you compare this to like a 7-cost Hades, it's like better statted than that for the cost. So I think this card is actually like insane. I'm surprised that I've not heard anybody talk about this card.
It's also like really good in the early game, right? Like, if you can, I mean, obviously we talk about Sapphire a lot as a ramp deck, but Amber's got one card which has really caught my eye as like a new ramp tool, like a new 2-cost which can ramp in a sort of similar way to the Huey and Lantern. So, playing this on your 4th turn, when your opponent's got nothing in the discard, that's going to be a huge, huge control tool for, Emerald isn't known for its control options this cheap. It's got Prince Philip, it's got Basil, these kinds of cards, but you're usually not being able to get those kinds of access to those kinds of cards until like 6 or 7, right? So it's a very interesting card. It is uninkable, but as the kind of card that you could just include as a one-of and just hope to get it working, it could be good. The huge downside with this card is the longer the game goes on, the worse it becomes, right? Because your opponent's discard is going to become more populated.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about the Grandmother Willow card, 2-cost, uninkable, 1/2. It's just a static effect once per turn.
Busted.
You may pay one less
crazy
for the next character. Yeah, so
or you can also play it on turn 3 with the song, the angel song, right?
Right.
Oh, that's true. Good. That's very true. It's crazy how like Emerald is such an interesting color, and I talked about it during my card reveal. Like it can do everything, because that is inherently what it's built to do, is be flexible. We're talking about like a mid-range control tool and like one of the most aggressive cards ever, and then the best thing you can do in Emerald right now, we saw in DLC Richmond, is play a hyper control deck with a board wipe. So it's really interesting how Emerald seems to always get this really cool stuff, and you're thinking about all the different things that you can do with it, and I think that's super cool. Amber and Emerald, I think, both got a ton in this upcoming set that will make for a bunch of really cool decks.
I also, just before we move on, just linking back to the Mulan, Sky thinks that the blue ramp card's the best card in the set, and I think the 2-drop that quests for 6 is the best card. I don't think anyone would be surprised based on our playstyles, right? I like Amber who likes blue, so...
Well, I'm also thinking of Infinity, so I think Mulan is pretty good for that as well.
Right, yeah, I can see it.
Well, actually, Mulan's pretty good in Infinity as well.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe Milana's not even good in Infinity now that I think about it. There's already so many good options for the following turn after Cindy. Like, you don't really need Milana, probably. I don't know. It's a toss-up. I think they're both insane cards. So.
Yeah, we're Mulan gamers here on Podcana, so get with the program, pal. Coming up next, talking about Emerald and Amber. Here we have Todd, 7-cost, inkable. This is a Floodborn hero. He's a 6/6 that shifts for 5, also has evasive, quest for 2. Twice during your turn, whenever this character is chosen for an action or an item's ability, which is super interesting, you may ready him. So that's only twice per turn. And I also want to mention this other card, and we can just talk about them together because this card was built for the other. Widow Tweed, a 6-cost uninkable 2/8 that also quests for 2. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. If that character is named Todd, you may play him for free. So what is the most egregious way to abuse this combo of getting a 2/8 and a 6/6 out on the board that both quest for 2? Find out right now. Speci, I'm putting you on the spot.
Medal of Heroes. Easy. What color is this item? Is it blue?
It's Sapphire,
yeah. This is like when you banish this item, card gains, like targeted character gains, is it 1 lore or 2 lore or something like this? I can't remember exactly, but I know you could technically OTK or something nearly. There's also, I'm trying to think, Ruby has like some item, gold coin, that has lore interaction, but I'm not sure it's targeting. I'm not sure it's like giving an extra lore to something. But yeah, any way you can give Todd more lore is where things start to get very, very spicy. I really like the card. It's got a couple of shift targets that were printed as well. There's a 1-cost vanilla, like 2/2.
Yeah.
And then I think there's also a 4-cost Todd, which doesn't look too bad either. So there's a couple of good shift targets. The thing that's important to remember with this guy is he's a 6/6 evasive. So, I mean, he's very good sort of raw stats anyway. So it's a really fun card. I really like both of these cards. They're very fun. And again, what I like about them is they're, Sky's talking about, rightly so, the dogs deck. And that's sort of what you think when you think Emerald Amber. But I'm liking a lot with this set that we're getting cards like this and the board wipe, which are incentivizing you to experiment playing Amber Emerald in a different way. And I think that's really what Lorcana sort of needs at the moment is multiple decks that could be competitive to some degree within the same ink color pairing. And yeah, I think these are really exciting cards and definitely my kind of cards. I think I'm sure to test it out. But I imagine it's something that's a bit more for fun than super competitive. But to be fair, the Widow Tweed card is kind of insane. So
in Amber, we do have an action good job, excuse me, that just gives +1 lore. So if you good job twice, you can quest for 7 with Todd. Or not 7, you can quest for 9, right? I don't know. Is that math right?
Yeah, 9.
Yeah, that's a lot. So Sky, what do you think of these two?
Yeah, so I'll talk about a little bit about the Sapphire route that you would play with this. Then what I think is probably the stronger route is just Amber, because the Widow Tweed card is really crazy. But the Sapphire route is cool. We mentioned like Metal Heroes, which just gives something +2. Like, I need to read Metal Heroes one more time to make sure that I know the cost before I go in this line. But
I think it's 2 cost and it costs 1 to
so that's 3. Okay,
3
3 is so much, dude. If it was 5, if you could do it for 5. I guess the dream world is, okay, say you play something like an Alice on turn 3 or 4, you have the shift Todd down, you have your combo assembled, your big turn happens, you quest with Alice, give the Todd +1, so he's at 3, quest with the Todd for 3, play Metal of Heroes, untap him, give him +2, so he's questing for 5, quest for the 5, that's 8 total, and then you play a second Metal of Heroes, untap him, he's questing for 7, that's 15 total, plus I believe 2 for the Alice quest. So it's 17. So if you can get 3 more lore somewhere in the game, which is honestly pretty hard for when you're setting this specific very fragile combo up. But if you can do that, you're getting 17 lore in one turn, which is kind of cool. That's 2 cards from hand, plus an Alice down the field, plus the shift Todd in hands and the Todd on the field, which is a lot. I think it's too much, but it is like a very reasonable, strong outlet for when you do assemble this. Typically, cards in the past that we see like this have been like way too below rate. Like if we look at the 3-cost Ariel, the one that needed to play items to untap, you needed so much stuff for that to have any chance, and it just was never ever even close to being on rate. This is actually close. It makes you at least think about it, which is good, and it means if it's close, that they could print cards that are potentially more efficient than we currently have, and they could push it if they want to. So I'll be interested to see if they want to push something like that. Unfortunately, combos like that are pretty unhealthy if it's too strong, because one means there's not enough interaction. Like, they printed all the combo pieces to have war that you need to set up. And 2, it's just there's nothing you can do at that point. Like, if there's no interaction, it's like the game's just over if you assemble, which is typically not a healthy style of deck. It's kind of like the Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh.
My kind of deck.
But I think the Amber card, or the Amber route with this, is actually more interesting. I think you play a lot less heavy into the combo, like buff up his lore. Maybe you do a little bit. There's some cards that are pretty efficient to do it, but it's more of just on turn 4, I sing the Angel Song, and then I play this 6-cost, bring back a Todd that I somehow discarded, play it for free.
Yeah.
One, you have the Widow Tweed, which can sing for 6, which could be very potent in a Amber deck that has some Sing Together songs, or Under the Sea.
Circle of Life comes to mind.
Circle of Life, Under the Sea. These are some things that could contribute to that. And yeah, you're getting a Todd, which is a 7-cost. So you just have the biggest singing board ever. Both pretty decent stats. Widow Tweed's got 2 lore, and she's got the Vincenzo stats, the 2/8, which is actually fairly sizable. So I think if you can somehow, I don't know how you're discarding. We're once again at the problem of I guess you have Bobby plus Yzma,
Tramp,
which is maybe enough.
There's a Scrooge, 2-cost Scrooge.
Tramp, yeah. I mean, Tramp, honestly,
Tramp.
if you go wide, play
Tramp.
Tramp, then discard the Todd and play the Widow Tweed.
There's
Honestly,
a lot of ramp
that's
now in
fair.
Amber as well. The 2-cost ramp in Amber, 6 isn't that expensive anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree with the Angel Song, and just playing a go wide dog style, and then having this be go over top. I've always been somebody who's wanted to make dogs more mid range or even control than aggro, just for my playstyle. And I think there's actually a spot that was kind of missed for a long time in this meta, and was kind of found a little bit later. I know during Richmond, I played against the 2 dogs players that were the mid range, and I think they did the best out of all the dogs. And I think mid-range dogs could be a thing with this. Like if if you play a tramp, discard this, play a Widow Tweed, bring it back for free. Like that's kind of insane.
Yeah, you can search for your Widow Tweed with the tramp and discard the Todd all at once. It's like, you know, it seems like tailor made for that.
Yeah, maybe it's Fairy Tale Land. Maybe there's not that much payoff in doing that. Probably not. But like, I love the idea of that. I love being able to consistently do clunky things like this. If there's anything that enables that, like, it's definitely that tramp. So
when you're
fun cards.
When you're playing like characters that are this expensive as well, you can be looking at Clarabelle as well, right? Like Clarabelle could slot into a similar style of deck like this. Like the Circle of Life Clarabelle builds were what got me really, really excited about Amber Emerald, and they've definitely been overshadowed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think these cards are super exciting. Like Todd is a card that you can build a deck like to just have a lot of fun with and build your whole deck around it in like Emerald Sapphire with the gold, not the gold coin, the Medal of Heroes. And then you've also got like the Willow Tweed in Amber Emerald, and it's a fun card, but it's also like just pretty good in its own right. So big fan of these ones. I have to say, this set for me is talking my language.
Yeah.
These are the kind of cards I like to see.
I think before we move on, one thing I'm thinking of right now is if you play the Angel Song inside dogs, like isn't that just insane? Can't you just take your first 2 turns, play 3/1 costs, and then next turn, if one of them was the Angel, sing, and then just play a tramp for like super cheap, or like you play one character, then sing, and then play the tramp for super cheap. Like I feel like that card's like insane in dogs too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could just play the 2-cost singer like Vanessa and sing it with that. I don't know. That card actually seems crazy in dogs. I'm kind of scared now.
All these Amber and Emerald cards, dude, are coming for you. Prince.
Well, it draws a card, and then it enables a tramp sooner, so you can keep like 3 cards maybe, or 2 cards at least if you're going first.
Yeah.
The Widow Tweed Todd deck, bro, it's coming together.
It is all things, and I really like. I really love the Floodborn here of Todd. I think it's super cool. All right, here's your Mickey Mouse, dude. The 6-cost uninkable 4/6, the Snowboard Ace. When you play this character and when he leaves play, each opponent chooses and discards a card. He also quests for 2. It kind of like I'm a vampire with garlic when I hear the word discard a card or the phrase discard a card. Prince John has done terrible things to me. But Mickey Mouse Snowboard Ace seems pretty good. You're getting a big body, quest for 2. He's got an ETB, and when he leaves, what do we think of this card? Amber Emerald again? Like,
Speci, you go first. You're the Emerald guy.
I like to discard cards, but this one is, I mean, it's basically the same card as Jasmine from like set 3 or 4, which I did play in Ruby and Emerald as a one-off.
I was gonna say you love that card, bro. I remember you being so hype about it.
I think I had an Enchanted, which was part of the hype.
Yeah.
Like the Jasmine card, same card pretty much, except it was when it's challenged rather than when it leaves play. So the Mickey Mouse has a better effect, but it's more expensive. It's uninkable. It's a cool card, but yeah, I don't know. I think like discard in general is obviously lacking a card draw engine. You can't like build your whole deck around discard strategy unless you go like some weird bend to my will route and just build your whole deck around that. But obviously it's proven that you can play bend to my will as just like a one-of, as like a backup plan almost in some situations. So there's not really many decks you're building your entire, there's no decks really you're building your entire strategy around discarding. And therefore discard as a keyword becomes weaker, right? Like basically if this card was printed in like set 4 when Prince John was still around, I would be more interested, but even then like 6-cost uninkable probably is too expensive. So I'm not a big fan of this one as much as I love discard. I don't know that it will be great, but you never know. Like discarding is always very powerful, but I think it's too clunky as a 6-cost uninkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's most of the story with this card. I will mention that like I've heard people say, what about blink effects? If we ever get those, for anybody that doesn't know what blink is, in Magic it was just essentially bounce and replay for free, and that's exactly what a card wants to do with the trigger of enter the battlefield and get removed from the battlefield. So you get 4 triggers essentially if you play this, and then blink it. I guess 3 up until the time it gets removed. But we kind of have that in Infinity with Bippity Boppity Boo.
Yeah.
And it is an Emerald. And we already had a card called Lucifer, which essentially reads discard 2 cards unless you have an action, you can discard that. If you Bippity Boppity a Lucifer, they could potentially discard 4 immediately, or typically they'll have like 1 action, so they'll discard 3. That's like really strong if you get it done, but like it's currently just not what you want to be doing and not fast enough for the format. So like if we already have Lucifer, which is pretty much a better version of this currently, I don't see this scene play.
I think Lucifer's a really good card to sort of compare this to, because while like I agree with you that Lucifer's probably better, like certainly I would say the effect is, the massive downside of Lucifer, which is a card I played a lot of, is the stat line is horrific at 2/2.
Yeah, no, I think
this actually having a big body is actually quite rare for a discard card. Usually when you've got a discard card, it's got no sort of body at all, right?
Sure, you know, I absolutely agree. Like isolated, I think this card is better than Lucifer, but like in order for this to,
Lucifer's better because it's cheaper. I mean, it
is one cheaper. Yeah, true. But I don't know. I think like you have to heavily build around either, and like if you're heavily building around it, like it's just Lucifer probably wins. So like, I don't know. Lucifer's probably better in both. Do you really care about stats in a discard deck? Probably not.
A little bit, but these kind of like expensive uninkables are also like one-offs, right? And I think like Lucifer as a one-off is very, very game-winning in a lot of situations. Whereas this one, it's sort of like you say, you need to build your deck a bit more around it and pull off some wonky combo probably with Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. I think it is one to keep an eye on though, right? Like this Inkcaster we looked at earlier, if this card cost 5 or the Inkcaster could rush in with the 6 cost, I think then we would be talking. So
yeah,
it's definitely got potential, but probably not right now.
You play Amber Emerald with the Angel Song. You set up a 2-cost singer on 2 of Vanessa and something on 3 that can sing for 3. They print a blank spell. You play this on turn 4 and you blink it. And they have to discard 3 immediately, and you still have a 4/6 that when it leaves, they have to discard a card.
Don't
discard 3's a
don't
lot.
give them
like
ideas.
Turn 4, if you're discarding 3, that might. If you discard 3 cards on turn 4, or like turn 4, that might be the rest of their hand. Like that's like the perfect time where like you're ripping they can't drop.
Wait,
their whole hand.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo is a song. You can sing it.
Yeah, but it's not legal right now, right? It got
well, we're talking. I was just talking Infinity, you know.
Oh, Infinity. Okay.
You can
don't forget about Ursula, receiver of all Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo as well, right?
You're right.
Yeah, I mean that was the combo with Lucifer. Yeah, with Ursula, you could discard up to 6, and so with it, you essentially rip apart their whole hand, which is fun.
And now you have the Angel Song, so you can make it. It's more feasible. Hold on.
Yeah, Ursula singing.
You play a Ursula Vanessa, then you play a Deceiver of All, then you sing Angel Song, play this, then you Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo it twice. GG, turn 4.
You can also turn 2 Ursula 3 cost with the Angel Song, and then next turn play another Angel Song on the Ursula and have a double discount. Play this for 2. And then combo off with your third copy of, then copy up, pop up with like double Bippity, and then just go crazy. You only need 1.
Yeah. Mickey Mouse Snowboard Ace coming soon to an Infinity 03 drop deck near you. All right, Snowball Fight. This is another discard card. Each opponent chooses and discards a card. If you have a character with Evasive in play, gain 1 lore. Like you were saying earlier, Joe, right now, discard doesn't seem like an archetype that you can just build around, and this would be, I think, a card that would help enable that. Does this see any play in Infinity, however? These are like the 2 big discard cards of this set. We haven't had much in a while, which is why I wanted to touch on each, but it doesn't replace itself, but it does cost 1 less than Hypnotize, right? And you gain a lore. Notoriously hard to get over the finish line with Emerald Steel discard, but yeah. Yeah,
this sees play in Infinity, I think. I think that's actually a really good point. There's no card, I think, that costs 2 and guarantees you a discard apart from Undermine, which is a Ruby Emerald Dual Link.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there's a very high chance that you would play this in an Emerald discard all in deck. The thing with those decks, right, is like your objective is to discard your opponent's hand as quickly as possible while having a Prince John down, because like then you refill up your own hand and then you just sort of win from that spot. So like for example at 4 ink, rather than if you don't have access to You Have Forgotten Me, right, because you're playing Emerald with something else, being able to play 2 Snowball Fights would be like one of your best ways of discarding the hand. Obviously, like Ursula Deceiver, Mowgli are sort of two other cards which you can discard that cost 2. This is a different kind of card. The fact that you gain a lore with the evasive is kind of not really what I'm looking at when I'm evaluating this card. That's like it's a nice bonus, but really like each opponent chooses and discards a card is kind of how I'm evaluating it. And I think it's a 2 cost. It can't be bad. I don't think it can be bad, but yeah, I think it's a good card potentially in a deck which just has its whole game plan revolving around discard, and otherwise I don't think we have that style of deck right now, so I don't expect to seeing any play in Core Constructed.
Yeah, I mean, in Infinity, I think you'll probably gain the lore more often than not, just because Diablo is like the one card that you always want to have on the board when you're playing that type of deck. So it's not nothing, but like you said, it's not everything. Sky, what do you think about Snowball Fight?
So I think I kind of disagree on this one, Joe. I think
I forgot about Sudden Chill.
Yeah. Purely thinking about Infinity, we have cards like Sudden Chill and Hypnotize. So the question then becomes, is that enough discard? If I could play a sub-rate Sudden Chill or a sub-rate Hypnotize, would I play more of them just to have more discard? I think the answer is probably no. 8 is a lot with this mulligan system. You really only need to find 2, especially if you have like an Ursula 3 cost that lives and you sing a Sudden Chill with that, that's discarding 2. So like if we think about, okay, we want to play Prince John turn 3 in Green Steel. We want to, the next turn you could potentially, play this card plus a Sudden Chill, but you already have Singers on board because you probably played a Diablo. So like you're not really hurting like for these cheaper alternatives to Hypnotize. I think you'd much rather almost every situation just play Hypnotize and have that replacement. Like you have the ink to do it. The one lore is like irrelevant in this type of deck. Like you're going to win the game by ripping apart their hand and just having complete control of the game. Alongside a couple of removal spells to deal with their board afterwards. But like I think this card is just not good enough. I think almost every situation you just rather play a Hypnotize. Hypnotize is like great, but the reason why Sudden Shell sometimes is better is just because it's a song and it's free. This is like just a worse version of that. You can't sing Snowball Fight.
I do agree, totally agree. It's a worse Sudden Chill, right? It's like you would never play 3 Sudden Chill and 1 of these, right? You would always play 4 Sudden Chill, and if you wanted to treat this as like a 5th, much worse copy of Sudden Chill, I don't think you would play 4 of these, but I think there's a good chance I would want to play like 1 or 2, because like it just opens up a couple of other lines, right? Like at 5 ink, for example, you could play Hypnotize plus this. It's that kind of thing which you can't do with Hypnotize, right? Until you're at 6 ink, you wouldn't be able to do a double discard.
That's fair.
I do think it has like a place as like a 1 or 2 of to just add a little bit of extra efficient discard in terms of ink cost. But I do agree it's pretty But I think it's a fair card. It's fair.
That makes sense. If you want 10 discard cards, it's definitely like close. Like it's not going to be that bad of a trade-off. It's inkable. So
I think you probably do want around 10 as well. I think that for me, I would always look to try and play a few more than I could, right? I would always play Sudden Chill, Hypnotize, and then try and find something else. I used to like my boy Friar Tuck back in the day.
Yeah, you did love that card.
Yeah. I didn't even know if the Infinity Green Steelists play Hypnotize right now. I think it might be too slow.
I think they're max goofing, right? Because they can just recur all that stuff.
I think that Hypnotize is too slow, unfortunately, for Infinity. So I think with that in mind, definitely this card doesn't see play. But
Infinity is a wild
I will
world.
say there's more discard decks than just Emerald Steel.
That's true.
Out there.
That's true. You can play Emerald,
red green,
Amethyst.
I played a lot of Emerald Amethyst discard towards the end of.
I think that
towards the end of pre-rotation.
I think that deck might be a little better than the Emerald Steel. I could be crazy. I don't know. I think they're both really good in Infinity. That's a cool thing about Infinity.
I haven't touched Infinity, so it's only theorizing.
I think Amber Emerald is like actually also pretty good as a disc. You get Timon. Timon's pretty sick. Like that's a very strong discard piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we got some Ruby cards. Ruby. Everybody has wanted Ruby to get some more powerful cards, and these two seem interesting. I like Grab Your Bow a lot, but let's talk about this Elsa Ice Artisan. She is a legendary, so of course I did want to talk about her. 6-cost inkable 5/5. Endless Winter is her first ability. When you play this character and whenever you play a location, you may exert chosen character with 3 or less strength. While this character is at a location, she gains +3 lore, so she would quest for 4 at that point, and she also shifts for 4. This card, I wanted to talk about because it harkens back to a card that I was absolutely in love with pre-rotation. That was Jim Hawkins, a card I always wanted to work. When he came into play, he came in, you could come in with a location for free, and then he moved to that location for free. And unfortunately for me, and I guess everyone else, because this card never really broke through, it just wasn't good enough, because you had to have the location, otherwise he was just pretty bad, and then you had to fill your deck with a bunch of locations that were maybe suboptimal, and there were very, very few locations that you really, really wanted to play in the deck. So we've gotten a bunch in this set, and despite that, I still don't see a world where this Elsa is going to be good enough, but I want it to be, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Jim Hawkins. I'll go on a short tangent about that.
He
card.
loved him.
I love that card so much, man. Back in the day, I built a red-blue deck called McRush that played like Motunui, the location, like Sumerian Talisman, and it was pretty much like, okay, I want to draw cards while dealing with the board by trading. I played stuff like Stitch, the little rocket, a bunch of 1-costs, like low to the ground stuff that would just trade and draw cards. And then your big payoff was you play Jim Hawkins with like a McDuck Manor or the RLS Legacy. And that deck was like actually so like pretty good. Like I remember like it was at the peak of Blue Steel like sets 2 or 3. And I was so close to bringing that deck to all my events. I just had like a slightly less win rate. It was just slightly less strong. But I was like, guys, this is good. And there was also a time in Red Purple that I think it was actually correct to run Jim Hawkins as like another payoff for just drawing a bunch of cards and being like very slow. But people didn't like the card too much. So there was a couple of people that played it in Red Purple, but for the most part, people said it wasn't worth. So I think the card was actually sleeper kind of good. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I don't think this card is. This card is like doesn't do what that card does. Like if you could, its strongest effect is that it just taps something down. So if we think about 5-cost Elsa is like the much better version of this, and it can swing that turn, cost 1 less. I guess like the payoff that this type of card is going for is like you play some sort of cheap location in the deck that pays off of moving something to it and then swinging and taking a challenge, and you get some sort of payoff with that location. But I don't think there's an efficient enough location currently for that to be good, to make this card good, essentially.
So it's an interesting card. I think it's almost like 1 too expensive for what I would like to see. I would like to see like maybe not have the shift and it costs 5, for example. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, but I think this card is one to keep an eye on because Ruby Steel has got, it's never been very competitive, but it has got a lot of support for like a location kind of build in this format. Like the Winterspell card looks very interesting. And there's a 3-cost Elsa, which I think also looks quite good. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on, but it's probably a little bit too expensive. It's worth mentioning Ruby does not have many ways, if any, to exert opponents' characters post Infinity. There was like Ratigan before, who was uninkable. Mm-hmm. So the exert part is actually extremely strong, especially for like a Ruby Steel deck. If you actually try and play Ruby Steel, you've got like this Mushroom card that costs 5, and you want to challenge stuff, and then your opponent will literally just sit there and only have a quest of evasives. So actually having an effect which can exert, and not only that, this character can exert multiple things. I think it's got a chance. Questing for 4 is a lot as well, so I think in the right deck it could be okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout.
In the right deck.
The Ruby Steel I hadn't thought of being able to enable like the Mushu, like you said, and then also there's like John Silver got reprinted in Fabled, can work with locations as well, so there could be something there. Ruby Steel gamers, Speci has broken it open entirely.
I think
well, there's already One Last Hope, right? And that does make stuff so you can just challenge
ready characters. Yeah.
Uninkable, quite jank, but I mean,
it's a song though. You can see. Hey, I lost at a set champ to it like this last weekend because I didn't know they played that card, and I had like a super clunky start, and then I was just like,
the half shock stuff, right? The Maui half shock, One Last Hope. But I think with Elsa, it's important to recognize that there's a lot of location support in this particular set with like literally the Winterspell card
Yep.
being very, very good with locations. I think that is John Silver, like the steel location card, always looked good, but when you played it, it always was just a little bit too slow for my taste. Whereas that Winterspell card, that is a serious card. So I think when you're evaluating Elsa, it's when you look at it on its own, it's like, yeah, this isn't going to be enough to make locations good. But the bigger question is this plus the Winterspell card plus the 3-cost Elsa and maybe some new locations, could that be enough to make a good deck? And probably no, but I think there's definitely something there that I would want to explore at the very least.
I'm definitely more sold on the card after hearing you talk about Ruby Steel than I was initially. And for the people that don't know, Winterspell is a 1-cost action. Chosen location of yours can't be challenged until the start of your next turn, and it replaces itself. It draws a card. So, yeah, that's really interesting. I think that is something that people should definitely give a shot. If you're a Ruby Steel gamer, it might be time to pivot a little bit and look into Ruby Steel locations.
There was some location decks around around Seattle DLC, whatever set that was. I don't know, maybe set 6 or something.
Somebody made top cut with the location, like all location deck.
Yeah. So it's doable. It's possible. That Winterspell card is a serious card, so I'm definitely quite interested.
Yeah,
I'm kind of sad that they're moving the location deck to Ruby, because like I think there was, what was that goofy card, the 2-cost, the Explorer?
Emerald.
Was
yeah.
That deck looks so fun. I was hoping they were going to push a little bit more for it, because like that. I love the idea of just playing like 1 or 2 of these goofies and then just like winning the game because they draw like 10 cards over a few turns. And like that's the win con. So I was like really hoping they would push for it a little bit more. I remember opening like the Epic and I was like, all right, I'm making this deck and I'm taking it to League. And then they didn't. It seems like they're moving away from supporting that type of location deck. Because like last set we got like the Ichabod Crane, like Sleepy Hollow, I think, style location deck. I don't think that really fits in with the goofy, unfortunately. So I'm kind of sad.
It's interesting to see how some of these colors are transitioning into like different phases. Ruby moving off of what it used to do and now supporting locations even more. But a card that does do what Ruby used to do really, really well is Grab Your Bow. Shout out to Lorcana Villain for the reveal on this one. A 5-cost uninkable song. Banish up to 2 chosen characters with 2 strength or less. So it gives you Brawl twice for free if you sing it, or 1 less if you were to play it the old-fashioned way. Yeah, I think it's a good card. Headless Horseman can sing it as well, and he comes in and banishes something. Really, really good anti-aggro option, in my opinion.
I have been resisting the urge so much to say the words Robin Hood Sharpshooter, but I can't hold it in anymore.
Go for it, dude.
Let it rip.
Robin Hood Sharpshooter is such a cool card.
Yeah.
And it was so close. I never played a single game of Ruby Sapphire before rotation, because everybody else played it. I don't like doing that. As soon as Ruby Sapphire was bad, I was like, right, I'm going to play my Ruby Sapphire Robin Hood Sharpshooter deck. And this deck was miserable. Like, it was so nearly good. And this is Fable meta. I played like 100 games. I could beat everything except I couldn't beat Blurple if I went second, and I couldn't beat Amber Steel Aggro if I went second. And that proved to be a big problem because those were the 2 most popular decks in the format. And the big weaknesses like a Robin Hood Ruby Sapphire deck had, you've got a Maui Half Shark, which is of course brilliant. You can play your Robin Hood on turn 3. It's very difficult to stop it. But you had no card draw, and you especially had very little removal. This card is serious removal for Ruby. It's the kind of thing that Ruby needs more of.
Yeah.
I really love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's an awesome card. And I also like this card and the board clear. It's almost like a reimagining of what Ruby does and what Amber can do, right? Like the fact that it's grab your sword, but Ruby, I think is very, very cool. It's Ruby's take on it. And it's trying to like move some tools maybe away from Steel over to Ruby. And they're like, I can see that the game devs like trying to like reimagine the colors and just find like a slightly clearer path for them to still have the color identities while also like potentially having multiple decks per ink color combination is sort of how I see them doing this. So for me, this is like a card which I love so much because of like the bigger picture of what I sort of feel like the game developers are trying to achieve with Ruby, and give it back some of its identity and move it away from just being the Be Prepared color and sort of give it some other interesting control tools. So I love the card, but I love Robin Hood Sharpshooter, and it's like such a cool card to have access to in that deck, right? You can Quest of Robin, find it, or like bring it back later on with Maui Half Shark. And yeah, like Ruby decks can struggle against aggro a lot, especially when you don't have a board clear. So being able to take out 2 characters at once without having to spend any ink potentially is super awesome.
Yeah, I think that Amethyst decks are going to really, really have to think twice about their game plan when they're going up against Ruby now. You can't just play Genie on 4, Elsa on 5 every single game anymore. You have to consider that you might just get blown out by this card. So, yeah, I like it as well. Sky, are you a fan of Grab Your Bow?
Yeah, I think this card is really good, and I'll get to the main reason why, but I wanted to touch on Robin Hood because Speci loves this card so much and has always wanted to make it work so badly. And I think this set we got the Bambi card, which says whenever this card becomes exerted, you get the effect. I think that is what Robin Hood needed, and I don't
know what this card does. I'm so excited.
It's a good card. It's actually like not bad. But the thing is, we're getting cards that say when this card is exerted, whether it's questing, challenging, or singing, you get the trigger. And I think that's what Robin Hood needs. If Robin Hood could sing and do his trigger off of it, then he would be probably pretty decent. Unfortunately, a 1/4 body and the quest for 2 doesn't really matter, the lore or the body, because one, like, you're not swinging with it. You have to quest. The style of deck that wants to play Robin Hood and get value off it isn't an aggressive deck by any means. You're trying to get removal value. So if you could sing a removal piece and it triggers, and then you grab your bow with it, then like it's pretty much a pseudo board wipe, right? You might take out 3 things, which is really good. But unfortunately, it's not. I think this card is super strong with Robin Hood, but I still don't see Robin Hood popping off in the near future, unfortunately. That's just my opinion, but I think the card is a little too slow.
It's not controversial. It is too slow. You're absolutely right. It is too slow. If you're trying to play Robin Hood on turn 4, you've got no chance. If you're talking about playing Robin Hood on turn 3, that's where I think it's a serious card.
Imagine you could do turn 3, and then it had like whenever it sang, it could do the trigger as well. Because then you could just play Ruby Steel, have this card, sing a Zeus with it, and then sing a Strength, and then hit like either a Thunderbolt or another Strength, and just remove 2 things. That'd be super sick. But yeah.
The thing I have to defend my boy. I have to.
Yeah, I have the clap back.
I have to say I love Robin Hood's a really, really fun card. Predominantly for me, it's more fun, but I do think the card's good, and I think Ruby Sapphire and maybe like a Ruby Amber build, because you can consistently play him on turn 3. He's an engine card, which is something we really don't have much of in Disney Arcana. So the combo that I had for my Ruby Sapphire deck, it was so cool. I played the Raya 4-cost, which like when you ink readies. So I play the Robin Hood on 3 quest. He's like going to draw me some cards or remove some cards on your opponent's side of the board. That's what you want him to do. So this Grab Your Bow is perfect. Like actually give you board presence and control and tempo. Then you play like the Raya, you ink, you ready your Robin Hood, so he's like protected for another turn. Then the next turn, you play Aurora, and suddenly your Robin Hood has ward. You quest, you ink again, your Raya readies him, and you just GG.
I love it.
That's a fun card.
The Exodia board state. So I think the problem with that is like if you look at like Cinderella, and now with this new Moana card, like Moana is like great for Ruby or Ruby Sapphire, because the thing they struggle with most is like card draw right now.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you just play a turn 3 Cindy and then into a Moana, that's like so much card draw alongside ramping. And like, yeah, the Robin Hood Sharpshooter line might be better against like aggro because it gives you more removal outs, but like against everything else, like just generically drawing cards and
why not both?
It's probably
I agree.
I mean, you could play both. Yeah, I mean, it would make Robin Hood better if he was inkable also, because then you could just choose to ink him. And,
I have 4 enchanted Robin Hood Sharpshooters, so I'm going to be playing.
He's invested.
Go on, Ravensburger. Prince of stuff for our boy here.
I mean, they have. They really have. Like, he got Grab Your Bow, which I think is the most important, but there's also a 4-cost action song in Ruby, which is if a character was banished this turn, draw 2, which is really cool. So he definitely got quite a few cool things here. And I mean, even like the Amber actions, right? So we'll see. I think he's probably not going to be like meta breaking, but he's a good card. He's good enough to win a set champs at the very least.
Yeah. Does anybody know if either Sapphire or Ruby got any good items this set? Because I was thinking Ruby Sapphire might be okay with just like Cindy into Moana, and then you might solve a mystery with Cindy, and you get net 2 cards potentially. Like I don't know if they got anything.
Let me have
there's Ink Runner's like the only decent one I feel like because it replaced itself. But I mean, I guess it's always Ink also. But that might be enough of a draw engine for Ruby Sapphire to be a deck.
Lonely Grave, Kristoff's Loot. I don't think
Kristoff's Loot's okay.
Yeah.
It's super high like control like value type thing, but
that's
actually, it's also uninkable though.
While we're talking about 1-cost Sapphire items, did you guys see Tiny Tim's Crutch, which is literally the exact same card as Scepter of Arendelle from set 1?
Yeah.
Like it's literally the same card. It's just got a different art and a different name. It's got no tags.
That one surprised me so much because that Scepter of Arendelle was a terrible card that just never saw play.
But it's the first time I think in Lorcana history it's a reprint, but it's a totally different card. So you can play 8 Scepter of Arendelle's in your Infinity deck now, guys. You're welcome.
Let's go. Lock it in.
Crazy support payoff.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of Ruby Sapphire, it's like we set it up perfectly. Liquidator. Joe, you wanted to talk all about these underdog cards. You have a video that is out now that people should go check out for sure. Liquidator Iced Over was one of your favorite ones here. If it's your first turn and you're not the first player, you may pay 1 less to play this character. It's a 4/2 with Reckless, and he costs 2, could potentially cost 1 if you're going second, and that's a huge stat line for somebody going second. Like, it just eats Daisy Ducks for lunch.
Yeah, so Underdog's obviously a really cool ability. There's an Underdog in each ink color. They're all 2-cost inkables. I sort of picked these 2 up because I think that you can see which I think are good and which are bad. So both of these cards are like existing 2-drops already. The Liquidator is Gaston, obviously without the Underdog ability. And Splatter Phoenix is the Duke of Wesselton without the Underdog ability. Both of those cards have seen some competitive play at points. Gaston certainly more than Duke of Wesselton. But the question is, what do you really want from an Underdog? And what you really want probably is some sort of board presence, right? Like to actually get back control of the board. The Splatter Phoenix card here, which is a 1/2 that quests for 2 with Ward. Okay, cool. You can pay 1 to play it, and you've got like a Singer. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be unhappy to be playing this down on turn 1, going second, really, but it doesn't do that much. Whereas the Liquidator, suddenly a way of being able to take out a Daisy Duck, which is one of Ruby's biggest weaknesses, right? Traditionally, like a Daisy Duck on turn 1. Is very often going to cause your slower deck a lot of issues. So if you're playing like a Ruby Sapphire deck, for example, whack in a Liquidator, which can be like not particularly outstanding a lot of the time, but it's a cool card. I think it's probably my favorite. Maybe Angel might prove to be better. I think Angel's maybe like a little bit easier to include in competitive decks. But I really love Liquidator. I love the Underdog sort of ability. And I would love as well to see some more expensive cards get this sort of effect. I mentioned in my video, like imagine if the green Hey Hey could have Underdog, for example, like some sort of card like that, which is already quite good going second and becomes even better going second maybe. So I love that they're introducing this. I don't think these cards are going to like revolutionize the game or anything like that. And suddenly you're going to want to go second by any stretch. But the Liquidator I like a lot. And I would certainly be very interested if down the line we get some sort of like Floodborn card which could shift onto these, then I think they become even more appealing options.
Yeah, I think Ruby Sapphire back in the day would have loved to have Liquidator going up against Ruby Amethyst, just trying to stop Flynn from triggering.
Yes. Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and getting that on turn 1, being able to ramp on turn 2, be kind of crazy. Sky, what are your thoughts on the Underdog ability in general?
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point. Like the deck that would love to play this the most is like an old Ruby Sapphire deck that really struggled on the draw versus any sort of aggro. They didn't care about this thing questing. They didn't care about Reckless. They just needed something to threaten to hit a couple of their turn 1 and turn 2 bodies. But if we look at other styles of deck, because Ruby Sapphire is not at the forefront currently in core. If we look at like Red purple, would this card be played in red purple? What does this card do for it? So red purple is probably the best anti-aggro deck currently, so I don't think this card is necessarily needed for that. Maybe if aggro gets enough tools, maybe the Mulan's so good that you need stuff like this and it's still worth to play 4 of. I mean, it's inkable at the end of the day. But against everything else, you want stuff with lore with that deck. One of the biggest things with that deck is that you build a board that's threatening and can swing for a lot, but at the same time, after you're done swinging, you're 2-turn clocking, right? You don't have like crazy control value. All your value is on what's on the field. So that is a pretty strong thing. The same token, though, you're playing Demona with that deck. It's a really heavy Demona deck. So having something cheap and just being able to swing and trade up with this is quite nice with Demona.
Takes out a cat.
If you think about Headless Horseman, sometimes you do struggle if it's not a huge Demona. Maybe you trade a little bit before to get something to trade off first and get that Headless Horseman going. This is a perfect thing that's very high, or it could wait and get to like 6 and take out a Hades. So I think the card, it might have a chance in red purple, but it's not super needed right now. The strongest thing is that it's an anti-aggro tool. I'm really sad about this card because I really want Ruby Steel, like aggro go wide to be a deck. And because I love the card Light the Fuse. I don't know if you guys know that one, but I want Light the Fuse to be good so bad because everybody trashed on that card so much. And I was like, this is like one of the strongest cards isolated in the set. There's just not enough good Ruby Steel, like 1 and 2 costs to play around it. And so like if this card could like turn sideways somehow, it didn't just have Reckless, like this would be so perfect for that deck. But it doesn't. So, and also one thing to say about the underdog, I as well love this mechanic that they're doing. Classically, I hated stuff like this. Like if you look at Magic, they had cards, if it started in your hand, you could play it for free on the first turn.
Ew, that sounds
those cards were so tough to balance, and they honestly, anyone that saw play had to be like
insane,
like banned,
eventually
or change or something. Lorcana has a much better like mulligan system to reward these types of cards. Like if you look at the odds of aggressively mulliganing for these types of cards, it's pretty good odds that you could find a 4 of, which is really nice. Like it feels good to be rewarded for saying, okay, I need to hit this. I have high odds if I sacrifice the rest of my cards in my hand, I just mulligan for this one card and you can typically hit it. That feels really good. And it's like sets up a good way to come back going second in this game that I think a lot of games can't really do easily.
Yeah, agree. And I like the Angel a lot. All right.
Yeah, Angel's really good.
We have Pete here, Ghost of Christmas Future, and Scrooge McDuck, Reformed Ebenezer. Pete, I think, has been getting a lot of mixed reactions. I think this card could be really good, but it's a 5-cost inkable 5/5, the quest for 1, with boost 1. Whenever this character quests, look at a number of cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards under him, put 1 in your hand and the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So the longer this guy is out on the board, the more cards you can look at. He's sort of a reusable, like, develop your brain or eventually Vision of the Future that also has a body and can quest. I think this guy has a lot of utility, and if he remains on the board for too long, can really get out of control. I don't know where he would work best, but I think this card will eventually see some sort of play.
My question mark with any kind of boost card is like, how good is boost as like a deck, right? Like, I don't know. As a mechanic, my concern is that it's going to be better on just individual cards rather than like a whole deck sort of being brought together. So I don't know. I'm always quite skeptical on these boost cards, but it's also fair to say I don't have as much experience with the boost mechanic as any other because I didn't play as much of the previous set.
Yeah, this one is just not good enough, I think. There have to be some sort of boost deck dedicated to it. Sapphire has so many great cards that do stuff like this, like Cinderella into Moana. You don't need like anything else except that to draw pretty much the same amount of cards, but you don't need to set up a clunky boost one that has to quest. Having a quest is a big thing. Like Moana and Cindy can both sing songs where they can just stand straight up. They don't need to do that for any of that thing to trigger it. So I think this does not have a chance unless there's some crazy boost, which I don't really see this set.
Speaking of crazy boost, Scrooge McDuck, Reformed Ebenezer, a 6-cost inkable 4/6 Floodborn that shifts for 4, and quest for 2. When you play this character, you may put a card from the top of your deck face down under each of your other characters. If you do, those characters gain ward until the start of your next turn. Is something like this be able to enable Pete a little bit more in your minds? Is this the kind of card that you would need and more of these sort of effects?
Yeah, but I think at the very least you need a 1-cost Scrooge. Like I think the only Scrooge is 3 costs, and that's not great. I mean, just essentially when you have a high-cost shift character, you almost remove one of your characters. So there's got to be a crazy benefit. Usually singing high-cost songs and valued that way because you're making up for that by being free. But this, is just not doing it. Maybe if you have a 1-cost, but we need that first.
I mean, the card's not bad, right? Like, it doesn't have ward itself. Yeah, it doesn't have ward itself, which is probably what makes me not think it's quite good enough. Like, if it had ward itself, I could see a world where you just sort of like play some sort of deck which gets to 6. You sort of try to play this to finish the game, but I'm quite unconvinced by the all-in boost decks, right? Like, I think Scrooge is not a bad card in its own right, but you would need like probably some boost cards to hit with it, and then would you really want to play those? I'm not so sure. The problem with Pete is, okay, it can draw cards if you boost it and you quest, or what you could do is you could just play Amethyst.
True. Much more efficient. One quick thing about Scrooge before we move on, though, is that I really wish the spreading joy ability would just be like trigger all your boosts. Like, because this is a lot different than just putting one card under your boost. You're buffing them for when they boost, but I think this card could actually just be do this effect and trigger your boost cards, and it wouldn't be unfair. You're shifting onto a 3-cost, first of all. Like, it also make flavor sense because you're spreading joy. Like, spreading joy is like, I mean, you're putting a card on. Like, come on, trigger the boost at least. Like, what are we boosting here? Like a 1-cost and a 2-cost because we're playing a 3-cost Scrooge to shift onto? Like, it's not like super broken. I don't even think there is like good boosts in 1 and 2. So I really wish they would have made this card a little bit stronger by doing that.
We have a 2-cost Scrooge you can use. It's not in Sapphire, but a Ruby one.
Yeah, and you want to ramp on 2, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
Emerald, there's a Scrooge as well that costs 2. I think like this card, like when you're evaluating it, you just sort of have to read it as when you play this character, all your other characters gain ward, right? That's actually what it's really doing. That's not a bad effect, but it's probably not quite good enough for it, because you can still give ward to, you can still put a card under like something which doesn't have boost, right? Like you still have the card under it and it gains ward, I presume. But yeah, I don't know. If it quested for 3, if it had ward itself, I would be much more interested in it, but I think it's probably lacking a little bit. It's another one of those cards which, like, I would rather it just didn't have shift and cost 5, for example. I think it would be better if that was the case.
No, that would be for sure, because you want to play stuff with boost, right, to pay off with this. So if you're shifting, you're losing one of your guys that you're putting a card under. So I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We're getting into Steel. We did talk about this Lilo a little bit, but Angela I thought was a pretty interesting card. I really do love the art on this one. It might be my favorite in the entire set. It's gorgeous the way that the Nightscape is in the wings there, but it is a 3-cost inkable, 2/3, that quest for 1. When you play this character, you may give chosen character Challenger 2 and Resist 2 until the start of your next turn, and your Gargoyle characters lose the Stone by Day ability. So this could be a reason to potentially do like a quote-unquote tribal Gargoyles deck, because now you're not punished for drawing cards with Gargoyles on the board.
I think this card is pretty reasonable. You can compare it to stuff like the 3-cost Jafar, the 3/2 that buffs, gives something Challenger +2. Obviously, the trade-off is you have 1 less lore with this card, but you have to think about, when do I want to be playing a card that buffs something and challenging? Like what situation? It's typically in like the mirrors. Say if you're playing the purple steel mirror, or you're playing Blurple, stuff where there's heavy back and forth trading, you don't necessarily care too much about the lore on the card. So I could definitely see giving resist +2 being a bigger payoff than having that 1 extra lore.
Yeah.
I also think in general the 2/3 stat line is probably better than 3/2. So I think this card is reasonable, but I don't see a meta after these more powerful cards come out, where purple steel like back and forth trading blows is going to be the situation. So I don't think this card's going to see play.
Yeah, I think cards like this sort of suffer a little bit from the second part of the ability. Your gargoyle characters lose the Stone by Day ability. While that's a really cool ability, I'm not really sure that the rest of the card is giving me enough of a reason to try and this card isn't giving me enough of a reason to build my whole deck as gargoyles, right?
Yeah, Stone by Day is not that bad of an effect. It really doesn't come up very often, anyways. So
it's an interesting card though. Like if you compare it to the Jafar, because I think that's a really good comparison. I think Jafar's a really good card. The 2 willpower on that card is a stinker because it can get taken out much more easily. It does quest for 2. One of the big things this has is that giving something resist 2 until the start of your next turn is also like an upside. You could use this not only offensively, right? You could actually just use this to like quest out with something. Like you give your Nala resist 2, for example, if you don't want to challenge anything. So there's a little bit more flexibility there, but I think this card sort of suffers from being flexible, that it's not really that good at doing anything. It's just sort of like mid at all of it. And I don't think that's really the kind of card that you want when you can ink cards in this game. You'd rather just have like guaranteed value every single time. And then if it's not hitting that guaranteed value, you could just ink it, right?
Yeah, resist +2 until the next turn is actually pretty strong. You could like hit something and then it like gets protected almost. Like they have to take another unfavorable trade and they might not even be able to.
This is the kind of card where if there's a 4-cost Floodborn, we could be cooking. This is like a great shift. But without that,
you just want all the Floodborn cards. Just put Floodborn on every card.
I do, but like with these cheaper cards, like it's really important context, right? Like on its own, I'm unconvinced, but if there's like a little bit more there, then I could see a world. I doubt that it's there yet, and unfortunately, I doubt it ever gets there.
So is your argument for Floodborns being like, I'd want them to not just be vanilla 2 costs that they shift onto? You want like an effect and
the best shift the best thing to shift on would be something which has an on the like when it enters the board, it does
like human Sisu, and yeah.
I think they are scared of printing cards that are like, it seems like every Floodborn is just like a vanilla 2 cost or something that you're supposed to shift onto, which I don't think you need to do that. They're not that great.
Yeah. Lilo.
I want to talk about Lilo. Oh, this card's gross.
Bundled up. She's a 2-cost uninkable 1/2. During each opponent's turn, the first time this character would take damage, she takes no damage instead. So she quests for 2. She's also a Pudge enabler for all the Pudge fans out there. And this is pretty interesting. We saw this effect, I think, for the first time on the legendary Rapunzel from the last set, but Rapunzel sort of ended up being a little bit too slow. Lilo does not take damage the first time she would normally take damage, so imagine a world you have to challenge into her twice to remove her, and that just makes the rest of your cards that much more safe. I like this ability a lot as well, Joe. Tell me why you like it.
It quests for 2.
True.
It quests for 2 and it has to be challenged twice. Like, it's so good. That is unbelievably good for an aggro card. It's better than Nala, I would say. Quite a bit better than Nala, actually.
I don't know about that. I think I love this card as well, and I think it is good, but I don't know if it's better than Nala. Nala is a crazy, crazy card, but to kind of explain
as well, of course.
So the problem with effects like this is they're traditionally not that great because you can just choose to swing into other things. If you're playing an aggro deck, you're going really wide, you're questing everything out, right? But if you're playing this in Amber Steel, 1, Daisy has a lot of toughness, so sometimes they have to swing 2 already into that.
Toughness?
Willpower. Daisy has a lot of willpower, so you have to swing 2 things into that. Stuff like if you going along that route, you play a Daisy on 1, you play this on turn 2, maybe you play a Pudge for free. Pudge has also a decent amount of willpower, but it's also they don't really want to swing because it quests for 1. It's like, how many things can you play to like incentivize like just being hard to deal with? That was also one where like it is kind of tough to deal with. But I think my biggest fear with this card is that if you're playing full on aggro and you're playing stuff like the Daisy into Lilo, and then you play something like Lady plus another 2-cost Lilo, or Lady plus something else plus Nala, they're just going to take out the Nala plus Lady. So I think almost in a weird way, like it's kind of hard to put this into an aggro deck because it is uninkable as well. At the end of the day, it's going to quest for 2 though, so it's like not terrible. But I think there are some interesting options. You could play stuff like Tiana to really incentivize it being tough to deal with your board instead of playing Lady plus something else, or maybe just play a different character. I think this has a chance to actually be played maybe in mid range as well, instead of to enable the Pudge and to also just be like, since you're not going super wide with little stuff, when you do quest out, it's kind of hard to deal with your board. But say you play a Daisy on 1, this on 2, and then you play like, I don't know, like a more valuable engine thing on turn 3. I don't know. I think it has potential in both the mid range and the aggro, and I think this card is fairly good.
I like this card a lot. I could see the argument for it being better than Nala in a world where pretty much everything that comes down on 2 these days has at least 3 strength. That is kind of irrelevant with this card, right? The Nala is just going to be hit by that 3 strength thing and be banished immediately. This needs to be hit by something and then the 3 cost thing, or the 3 cost thing and something else. So this could potentially net you more lore over the course of the game than Nala could, just because everything like that is the threshold right now is 3 in the early game and like 4 in the mid game. So yeah,
I guess if you sorry to interrupt, but if you think about like the Blurple matchup with Amber Steel used to be, like they play a 1 cost and then they take off a turn, then play a Genie or something, or a 4 cost. Like if you're playing Amber Steel and you use your first strength to remove that big guy, you can quest with this safely, I suppose. Like rather than Nala, where like a Rafiki or a Royal Guard could take her out.
Yeah.
Because they only have 1 thing, they just have their 1 cost, right? So I guess you are like, it is better than Nala in like a lot of cases like that.
I think you also convinced me maybe Nala's better. Like, I think it's a really good point. Like
we just like flipped. Like I'm like, Lila's better. No, Nala's better.
No, you make
I think
a really
they're
good
both
point.
close. But...
You make a really good point about like how they can just go for your other things, but it's really good in that situation. Like what you're trying to achieve as an aggro player in Distant Arcana is you're just trying to like have more characters on your board than they can answer, right? So if you're dumping down Lilo and you're using something like Fire the Cannons to like disrupt your opponent, and your Lilo's questing, like they might have, if they've got 1 character on the board, you can just quest with Lilo and maybe leave your other stuff like ready for a turn, for example. So there's also, I feel like I'm turning into the biggest Shift fan in the world, but there's like a new Shift Lilo that looks kind of cool as well. So it's a Shift target. Like there's Lilo and Stitch sort of synergies happening. So it's a really, really good card. Maybe, to be fair, the fact that Nala is already in the same color is going to mean that it's going to have some competition for places. But I think there's also a real chance you just play both, particularly when you have access to the 1 cost Mulan, for example, in Steel, where like you can unbrick your bricky hands.
Yeah. I mean, in a world where you have multiple of these out as well, like you need 4 characters on the opposite side of the board to remove them both. That's a lot to ask, right? Not to mention everything else that you have on the board. So like you go 1 drop, Lilo, and then you Lady Lilo. Those Lilos are not getting removed like ever. So I don't know.
What about Red Steel Lumiere? And you just buff up the Lilo so she starts taking things out.
There you go. There you go.
Play Lilo on 1. Next turn, Lumiere plus something else, and you're cooking.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine if you had 2 Lumieres then, because like this effect also works for removal spells. So like they can't remove it with just that. Like they have to hit their stuff.
I like it. I mean, Lumiere is. I played a lot of Ruby Amethyst this set, and just that card, it just aggravates people to no end. It's similar to like Emerald Chromacon, where it's like, why do you have to have that right now? It's like so innocuous, but really impactful. Yeah, I mean,
no matter without Storm or Cannon.
Yeah. It's not easy to remove if he never exerts himself, and then if you have a bunch of 3/2s that trade with everything, it's not
he
terrible.
comes back with Grab Your Bow as well, right? Because he's like anti-Grab Your Bow, and you play him in the same deck as well, potentially. So, yeah. This is a good card.
Yeah, I'm excited about this Lilo card in the Ruby Steel deck. This was one card where I was like, all right, we're getting more. We're getting this one and like the 3-cost Gantu, or the 3/3 Gantu. It was like, okay, we're doing something.
Yeah, I don't know about that Gantu, but maybe that's just me. He just he doesn't replace himself, which is just, I don't know. He is a 3/3 on 1.
You got dog.
Yeah, sure.
He's not that good, but he is like kind of along that style. Okay, we just need good 1-drops. The deck is literally just drop your hand and play 2 light fuses and destroy their board.
Yeah. All right, I think that is it for cards. I have promised people that we are going to do the spilled ink section, so I've got 4 questions that I want to hit, and we can hit them really quickly from the listeners out there. This is going to be, just kidding, we have 2 more cards. My fault, I thought those were the last ones. I like this containment unit. I did want to talk about this card. GG is also interesting. There's like a Lexington GG conversation, but containment unit is a 2-cost uninkable. item. When you play this item, choose a character they can't challenge or quest while this item is in play. At the start of your turn, choose and discard a card or banish this item. So it reminds me of Elsa's Ice Palace, which is a location. It did essentially the same thing. It kept something exerted, I believe, and then you could just challenge into the location, remove it, and then have your character back. But this one, the punishment for doing it is you have to discard a card every turn. So like in my mind, maybe this is like the perfect removal tool for a deck that plays something like Goliath, where you can like refill your hand. But in Magic the Gathering, there were enchantments, is what they were called, that could lock down your opponent's characters and basically remove them from the game unless the enchantment was removed. And most of the time, there wasn't really a downside. You just played it and it did its thing and it just sat there. This one, there is a downside, so maybe Ravensburger is a little worried about that being too punishing, just being able to put this down and hey, your character is basically out of the game unless you have item removal. But I thought it was a really interesting design choice to bring into the game, which we've sort of had before, like I said, with the Ice Palace, but something we might see more of in this game moving forward.
Yeah, I love the flavor of this card. I also love the art. The little dude looks so cute in there, and he's like all grumpy because he's captured. But I don't know why they added the power supply. You don't need that effect at all to be for this. Like, even if I don't think this card would be played, even if it didn't have the power supply downside.
I think it would.
I also think it would.
Why that? Like, what are like, and why not just deploy another character if you're playing aggro? Like, what deck wants to lock stuff down and keep their stuff safe? Like, the stopping stuff from questing is not relevant enough that we don't have like things that quest for 6 and 7 that you need to just I need to stop that from questing until Mulan, I guess. But yeah,
I mean, if you think about like
this is not a leyline binding at all, because if leyline binding had the text of you had to discard a card every turn, it would.
But I don't think you play this in an aggro deck, right? Wouldn't you want to play it in mid-range or control?
No. Yeah, you'd want to play it in like a very heavy item deck, which has very little board presence, and you basically just like freeze your opponent's character. Like, let's say like an Amber Steel control deck, because that's something we could seriously consider. Is it going to be very good? No. But in this style of deck, right, you play the containment unit, you freeze your opponent's character. If it didn't have the power supply, then your opponent's character is just stuck there unless your opponent has item removal. And then you remove it like 7 turns later. So you just play containment. They play a card, you play containment unit. Containment unit. It's not going to work because of the power supply. But
Sky, if this didn't have the second ability, would you not play this in Sapphire Steel and like just?
No, I would.
You wouldn't use it on their. You wouldn't use it on their Flaversham and just. It just removes their Flaversham.
No, because I mean, if I'm gonna be playing uninkable cards against aggro, we're still assuming there's no power supply. Let it be known. I'm playing Spooky Sight.
Right.
Like I'm playing removal. Like even if you just compare this card to Fire the Cannon or like let the Storm Rage on, like you could just remove it. Like you don't need to do this weird like lock them down. There's no upside to keeping it around. If anything, there's like you know, like a downside almost. Like what if this thing gets removed? Is like they play a Benja or something. Like I don't know. Like I wish this was like no power like if this was one cost inkable and had no downside, I'd play it in Blue Steel and Infinity maybe to stop aggro, because it's an inkable tool then it's probably good enough to.
You don't think it'd be
so
good
what
in the
you're
mirror?
telling us, Guy, is this card's bad? You think this card's bad?
Yeah, this one's one of the worst cards I've ever read, I think.
The power supply, makes it entirely unplayable for sure.
Think of a card that just said draw a card every turn. Like that, how much ink is that worth by itself? Quite a bit. Like if there was just an item that was just draw a card every turn, like that's scary.
Yeah.
Right? This is essentially that, but negative.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, you're right. I wanted to bring it up because the ability, the Got You Now ability is interesting in my opinion, and there's like a discussion.
I wish
there.
They would make this thing on. Like I love the art and I love the flavor of being like an item removal that I could play with like Tamatoa against aggro. I'm always looking for more tools.
No power supply. You don't think this is like good enough to play in the mirror just to stop a Flaversham? Like it's just out of the game.
To stop a Flaversham is interesting. That's one of the cases where there's a lot of value actually. So.
It's a really powerful effect.
We got him.
If it was inkable,
we got him.
Sure.
We got him. He would play it if there was no power supply.
They can also still just sing with Flaversham, which is surprisingly strong.
Yeah,
in this
that's
set.
true.
Stuff like Might Solve a Mystery, which kind of nets 2 cards as well, or just Zeus or Strength.
Yeah.
So Probably not. It'd have to be inkable.
He would do it. He just doesn't want to admit it. All right, GG. Best in Show, a 3-cost inkable 2/4 with alert. And while this character has no damage, she gets +2 strength. So she is Lexington, but doesn't have the Stone by Day ability. And if she's damaged, she is not a 4/4. She becomes a 2/4. I saw a lot of people talking about this card potentially replacing Lexington in a world where we're still playing Amethyst Steel. I was kind of like, I don't know if we're doing that. I think Lexington's probably still just better, but I wanted to get both of your opinions on that, just comparing these two cards specifically.
I would only consider playing this card if I already had 4 Lexingtons in my deck and I wanted a 5th one.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was landing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you look at Lexington, one, it can sing things. So if you sing, it's still a 4/4 that they're going to have to trade bigger stuff into. And 2, the Stone by Day ability doesn't really come up. That's not a bad downside at all. We've already kind of said that that's not a real like negative thing that happens frequently in that style of deck. So like you'd have to have, I don't know. Yeah, there's just almost no world where this card is better than Lexington.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the Spilding section. This time for real, unless I put 2 more cards in there that I don't know about, which I don't think I did. Okay, Spilding section. If
Can
you
I just...
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. This 2 cost, I mentioned it earlier, the 2 cost Amber, like 1/2, which makes your characters cost 1 less.
Yeah.
That card's absurd. That card is so strong, it's unbelievable. That's a game changer.
The Grandma Willow?
Yeah, it's like a Huey, but you don't have to quest for the effect to trigger. Right?
Yeah, I think there's potential for that card.
It's so good.
I don't know. I feel like the problem is like it rewards spamming characters, but it also, like, if you're spamming characters, that's a suboptimal aggro character itself, right? So like
it's a ramp card, right? It's you play it in some sort of ramp, right? Character ramp.
Okay, so you're just using it just for the static, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, exactly. It's like you play Lantern in that deck, right? And sometimes you play Huey, but Huey is questing once and then it's traded out, and it's never a favorable trade on your side, right? It's always going to be to your opponent's advantage, really. Whereas that card, it just sits there and it just does stuff, which I think is really good.
Yeah, I think the card's solid.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First question from the Uninkable Dads.
That's my guy.
Shout
out.
That's
my guy right there. Yeah, let's go.
Great episode. Love the in-depth analysis. From what we have seen so far, this set looks to have one eye on Infinity. What do you think Infinity needs for it to establish itself as a genuine format which people regularly play?
I think the best way to incentivize people to play a format is just to have events. Like, everybody, even if you don't go to these DLCs, like, and you're just a local player, you want to have there be this feeling of hype and like community, like aspect of a format, right? If we're just going and playing events and there's no incentive at all for anybody to be playing it, that kind of feels bad. That's kind of how formats can die out. I know Magic has a lot of problems with like Pioneer and other formats being spread too thin that are just not incentives to play. So I think we just need events. I think which it sounds like we're gonna have, like CCQs. People want to see results. People want to see a meta. Like, the biggest problem with Infinity right now is that there's no established meta, and so like nobody, unless you're really trying everything and like digging deep and finding like the really just raw powerful decks, it's tough to kind of build your own deck and find what you want to play. So I think once people start to see the meta form, they can build around that and maybe counter that. People like to build brews that counter the meta that they expect. So I think we just need to see events in a meta form.
I would say controversial, and I'm not sure if this is necessarily true. I personally would be a lot more interested in Infinity format if it felt more like a curated experience. And I think in order for that to be I feel like a ban list is probably necessary. I just don't really understand how they could decide Flaversham was too strong, but then just allow it to exist in Infinity. Like, I don't know. I have no desire really to play Infinity currently. I'm sure that'll change when DLCs come up. I'm sure I will be, but yeah, I think Skies is the most important. You need events, but I just feel like Infinity is just a little bit like, I don't know. It just feels like it just exists. It wasn't really designed. It's just sort of there, and I feel like a ban list could go a long way to make the format feel more enjoyable.
I've heard a lot of people say that as well. They're like, we need a 7-card ban list. That's what we need to start this format, or it's unplayable. They're like, Diablo's got to go, Flaversham's got to go.
Diablo's
it's like
got to
all
go.
that
Flaversham's
stuff.
got to go. Can't agree with that.
Cinderella
Absolutely.
Ballroom Sensation, et cetera, et cetera. Like one problematic card per deck, and then good luck, everybody.
I think my take on that and like why they kept Flaversham unbanned to at least start was they really wanted to ride on. You can go play all the old cards and like ride on that nostalgia of like people that like have kind of lost a little bit of interest in the game since rotation can kind of come back and be like, yes, everything's legal again. It's just a nice optic. And also, I think the problem is if you start banning some of these really strong cards, you, like you guys said, have to ban others. You got to ban Diablo, probably one cost Cindy. Like there's like this list of bans that happen. And then you don't get to play any of those really powerful cards that everybody was nostalgic for. So like you need like a lot of these nostalgic, crazy heavy hitters, I think, to get a lot of interest. I think it's a smart play to at least start.
Let's not forget about Fortisphere. That's got to go, mate. It's too strong.
No, if you ban Flaversham, Fortisphere is fine, bro. Are you kidding me?
I am kidding.
Everybody in core, we could have Fortisphere right now.
There only needs to be one card banned, and it needs to be Popsicle, and the format is perfect. In my opinion, that card.
I think it's interesting time to bring back Fortisphere though, because we have Ink Runner, so like. Scrooge is actually kind of low-key powerful now with 4 Fortisphere, 4 Ink Runner. Ink Runner is obviously way less powerful, costing double what Popsicle does, but it still enables those free Scrooges, which would be interesting.
Yeah. Next question here comes from S. Gettle, and it's a specific question for Sky. Why was your set 9 deck called Truby Tuesday?
I think we talked about this on another episode or some podcast, but it was originally called The Princess and the Dog, because you play Tiana on turn 3 and then potentially a Pluto on turn 4. But I love Troubadour so much in that deck, and like it was the first card that I saw people were sleeping on heavy in the archetype. So I was like, I think Troubadour is crazy, and I really liked the feeling of Truby Tuesday, and I just kept saying it like I was just like the whole week leading up to when I called it that, I was just like Truby Tuesday. Like that's just what it is. I'm like, if I keep calling it this, I'm just gonna call it Truby Tuesday. So
it's a better name.
I mean, it's named after Ruby Tuesday. If anybody doesn't know the restaurant Ruby Tuesday, that's where it came from. And actually, after I won
Ruby Tuesday?
It's like a family restaurant here in the States.
It's like, have you heard of Applebee's?
Yeah, kind of.
It's kind of like one of those chain like Cisco coded restaurants that's like really just but it's fine. We went to it after day one of Denver, and I got the Ruby Tuesday power up because then I won the CCQ the next day with Truby Tuesday. So
Sky cooked with that deck as well, so I can confirm the Troubadour was good. We played after
matchup was pretty
well, it was Milwaukee. I just sort of come off like a nice like day 2 finish, was feeling good, and you know I was just messing around with Sky a bit, like, come on then, I'll beat you up, son. And I got absolutely
well, Speci was like, hey, I beat 2 people on this. It can't be that bad, right? I know it's like probably not great. I'm like, I'm pretty sure like you just lose if I play my characters on curve. Like I don't even need to hit my songs that much. And yeah, it wasn't
close. It wasn't.
it was over by like turn 4 both games.
Next question here comes from John P. on Twitter. You can also leave us questions on Twitter, not just on YouTube. Do you think DLC should go back to top 64? I'm all for an increase in players and more rounds, but it seems backwards to increase those, but then cut the top cut in half.
No. You play more Lorcana with the current setup than you did in the previous setup. So I think this one's better, to be honest. Top 32 seems like enough. It's not like a perfectly clean cut, but it's like kind of clean. I think it's better to play 12 rounds of best. Like you have to think as well, before it was 2-game format, right? So how many rounds was it? Was it 10 rounds?
It was 9 rounds. 9 rounds.
9 rounds, 2-game format. You're playing 18 games of Lorcana. Now it's 12. You know, you could be playing like 36 in Swiss. I think this you just play more Lorcana with the current one. I don't think you need a bigger top cut.
I think I agree with that take. I'm typically somebody who will advocate more for rewarding people in Swiss, especially if we have a longer Swiss. Like if it's when it comes to top cut, that's single round elimination. Like it's one and done. If you brick, then it's bad. So I think with more Swiss rounds, if you can reward people by shrinking that a little bit and having less rounds that are just one and out, because you could be seed 1, then you get a bad matchup or like brick really bad in 1 round and top cut, you just lose, which can still happen. But obviously with less rounds, you made it a little bit further, rewards you more for those 12 rounds of Swiss that you played.
I think like interesting, if I may use the R word and mention Riftbound briefly, they just yesterday, in their first like regional qualifier they had over in America, they had Swiss, I'm not sure how many rounds, and then it went to a top 64 cut, which was not seeded. There's a lot of pushback on that. And they just announced yesterday that now they're doing Swiss, all the way to a top 8 cut, and then seeded top 8. So that Riftbound devs have decided, or Riot, I should say, I guess, have like decided that they want more Swiss and less single elimination. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like in single elimination, there's more variance, I suppose. Like whereas Swiss, you just have more Lorcana to play to prove your worth. And there's less like of those matches which if like one little thing goes wrong, you get knocked out at a moment's notice, right? You look at like, for example, Zanside comes to mind in the recent event in Richmond. He's in top 32, queues into Kang, and then he's out of the tournament right after one game. And so I think it's better to have more Swiss, less top cut, less single elimination.
Nice. I think I agree with you guys as well. Final question here from Cody Andelin, also on Twitter. I thought this would be a fun one. Do you guys have any other hobbies? How do you balance work? Joe says no. He is all in on trading card games, start to finish, dreaming about them.
I mean, it's kind of funny that me and Speci, like, I think at least both currently right now only do this. Like, so we kind of, as far as like work-life balance, like this is the work. But no, like I was working a job recently, and it can be tough. The main thing is PTO with a lot of people. Like most people are working full-time jobs that are like you have to ask for time off. Some jobs are really bad about that. So like sometimes like it's hard to hear when people like I can only go to one event per year just because I cannot get the time off. Or I have a family and I have a family vacation, so I get one event. Yeah, that is really sad because it's like a sad reality of the corporate world that we live in. But so sometimes it's really hard to balance. Which but for me, like this is a lot of what I do. Like right now, like podcast stuff like this, doing content, testing. Other hobbies, I do like a little bit of everything. I play a lot of TFT right now is a big thing. I'm really enjoying that.
I'm thinking about trying it. I'm thinking
you should, dude. I played a match before it started.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I think you would get addicted, especially for
sure. So it's very likely that I'm going to be playing it quite soon, I think.
Yeah, well, didn't I tell you to stream it back in the day? Like I was like, you need to stream TFT. You'll get addicted, yeah. I play a lot of that. I do like a lot of weird little things. Like I've been getting into like roller skating. I used to play hockey for a little bit when I was young, and like I always loved the feeling of skating. So like me and my girlfriend just bought a pair of skates and we've been like trying that out. So but I don't have to balance anything. I'm really fortunate to be able to do this for like make a living off it for now. So
nice.
Yeah,
Joe,
I'm similar. I'm starting to like delve into a lot of different card games recently. Like I was very much like a one card game kind of guy for a long time, but I'm enjoying checking out a lot of other card games and sort of seeing what's out there. Oh God, it was. Guys,
you did enjoy that one.
Let me tell you, that is the worst game I've ever played. It's so bad. It's honestly horrific. Respectfully.
Yeah, it's the only card game where I can't think of a single upside. The pricing's terrible. Mm-hmm. Like the game mechanics are terrible.
The show is
good anime.
The cheating is terrible. Everything, like not even the community is good. They like cheat so much. It's like terrible.
The people I played against were very friendly. I will say that they were very welcoming, but it's overwhelming.
Sure. But any card game can have good friends in it, right? Like the overarching problem is like cheating.
It's the only game that doesn't have rotation, which you have to credit it for. But it's also that has resulted in the most ridiculous power creep. Whereas if you think Yu-Gi-Oh is about playing a card on turn 1 and putting a trap face down, you are sorely mistaken, my friend. It is about playing 17 different cards from your extra deck, reading 100 lines of text.
You need a PhD to understand the cards that people are playing. Like
it is an absolute.
Yeah, for anybody that complains about rotation kills a game, like there's a reason why Riftbound has preemptively stated that there's going to be a rotation at set 10 because it just has to happen or else stuff it's so restrictive and hard to balance if you don't do that.
On a paper game, I think rotation doesn't belong in a digital game, in my opinion. I was talking about this on my stream earlier, but that's because in a digital card game you have the ability to tweak numbers after a card's released, right? Whereas in a paper game, you need like developers need to sell sets, right? So if you sell a set, it's got to be slightly stronger than the previous one, right? So if you don't have rotation, things just get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, agree. For me, I go to work 9 to 5. I come home and I do Lorcana stuff. On the weekends, I try to take a break, but we're recording today. That's all right. But yeah, it's tough, man, to work a full-time job and make content at the same time. So I do my best to try and balance it, but I've been doing it for like 10 years on YouTube. So I think I've kind of figured it out.
The busiest man I've ever met in my life.
I,
Garrick is like always doing 1,000 things. I'm like, bro, how do you have time to be playing TFT right now? I don't understand. Like, he somehow makes it work.
I think,
play on my iPad or my phone. Yeah.
I think the advice I would say to someone that's looking to balance Lorcana with work is just it depends what you want from the hobby, right? If you're just looking to have fun, you don't need to worry about this. But if you're looking to get as good as you can, let's say you're looking at it from a competitive lens, I would just say just try and make sure that the testing that you do is high quality testing, and just try and really like have a plan rather than just like slamming games. Like have a purpose with what you're trying to achieve when you're doing it. And just try and like make use of your time as much as you can, really. Yeah,
and I would add, like, I think a huge way to save time if you want to be a competitive Disney Lorcana player and you like want to get good at the game and be as competitive as possible is don't waste brain power on building your own decks. Speci and Sky are two great deck builders. If you want to play a deck, pick up their deck and get as good as you can, because deck building is a really, really difficult thing to do, and you have to really, really know all the cards, the meta, etc., etc. It takes so much more time to invest into becoming a good deck builder. If you just want to be a good player, play decks that good players have already built. So I think that's a great way to save a lot of time.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like all the top players still net deck. It's a very important part to see what other people are playing, because you can't play every deck hundreds of games, right? You need to see what other people are playing. Take a deck if you think there's something that could be strong. Like one of my favorite things is just to take an established deck and see, is there anything people are missing? Like I remember with mid-range was Troubadour plus Be Our Guest, and those were just two fantastic cards that really helped that deck push the archetype, and people just kind of missed it. So if you can still change stuff and put your own flavor on it, but it's really nice to start with something that's been tested a lot and has already weeded out what's really bad and not worth it. So, and my final piece of advice for this is that, kind of like Speci said, if you don't have that much time, really focus on the events that you do get to go to. If you get to go to one DLC, focus, take it seriously. Don't take it just like, well, I don't have much time to put in this hobby. Like if you have some sort of competitive aspiration, take time to test it and try to do well with it, because it's these events that it takes one good event to really get you hooked. And maybe a lot of the time it is just like rationale of, it's not worth my time currently to invest in this game. That could be the step that enables you to invest more time and kind of progress that way.
Yeah, and if you're low on time, you've got a big event on the horizon, pick your deck early and just lock it in. And just get the reps in, get the matchups.
Yeah, Sky, one deck. Yeah.
And Sky will know, when I played in Seattle, I didn't really know what I was playing until a few days before the tournament, and that wasn't good because, even as someone that's experienced building a lot of decks, I then didn't really have enough experience like in the matchup. So, yeah, just try and pick something early. To push back slightly on Garrick's point, because I'm a big believer in deck building in general, I would say if you're short on time, don't bother, to be fair. But if you're looking to get better at the game in the long term, I would also always encourage people to experiment with deck building, because I think the process of deck building and the process of like understanding why people are putting certain cards in the deck is also helping you to understand the game at like its core and at a deeper level. And my top tip for deck building, the trap that everyone falls into is that they think about like what cards are the best. That's kind of the wrong approach, in my opinion. The best way to build a deck is what card is the worst card in your deck, like, because that's the trap everyone falls into when they're trying to build a good deck. Is they have a deck that has a lot of bad cards in it. The key thing to building a good deck is not playing bad cards, I would say. So just trying to evaluate like which cards are the worst in your deck, and if maybe they're really pulling their weight, and just tinker around, experiment, and you'll learn quite quickly, I think.
If you play 20 games, regardless of matchup, and you don't use a card at all, like it's probably not good. Maybe it's specifically for one matchup, but there's usually like it has to be one of the most played decks for it to be worth. So, pull it out if it's not doing anything. If you feel yourself not ever wanting to play the card, for sure, that's a good
which
indicator.
is also like if you've got it as like a 1 or a 2 that might not be quite so fair because it's a big deck in Lorcana. But if you've got like a play set of 4 cards, right, and you're just not doing anything, then but yeah, just have fun with it. Try and like have a plan. I think if you're looking to get good, just sort of have a plan rather than just showing up and playing, which is absolutely nothing wrong with doing. But if you're looking to make the maximum gains, I think just having a plan will go an awfully long way. And just commit to something.
Yeah. Great advice from 2 amazing players, Joe. I want to thank you a lot for coming on to this episode of Podcana. We really do appreciate you being here and would love to have you back anytime. Like I said earlier in the episode, you do have a brand new video out right now talking about that underdog ability. But what else do you got going on? The floor is yours. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing quite a lot of Winterspell stuff because Ghent's coming up, which I'm on the broadcast team for that. So
Nice.
I need to get good at that. So I'll be doing quite a lot of Winterspell streams, I think. I'm also, maybe by the time this is out, I'm working on a video where there was some cheating on stream in Richmond. So be on the lookout for that. I'm still working out exactly how to handle that one exactly.
Yeah.
And also Riftbound Set 2 comes out in English soon, and I'm supposed to be competing at their big event in Europe soon. So fingers crossed I have a good result there because I've been putting a lot of practice in on that side of things.
Nice. We will have...
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course, anytime. And we'll have all of Joe's information linked down below in the description if you want to find more of his content, whether it's Disney Lorcana or any other card game that he's out there, because he's out there grinding like nobody else, all these different card games. Definitely check him out. It's a great watch, whatever he is up to. But I want to thank everybody for stopping by episode 134 of the Podcana podcast. For Joe, Sky, my name is Garrick. We will see you in the next one.